Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, Luca-Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca-Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Don't forget also to go to lovegunsfreedom.com and you will find out today's show and of course all the past broadcasts. I always said the purpose of this show, this is not to entertain or to give you some sort of, funny time or fun time. This is about serious matter. This is not a hobby. I take this very seriously, and I really believe that this is the time we have to try, first of all, to awake our fellow Americans, what's going on and what's happening already, and more important, to start to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. We would like to have a plan. First of all, we would like to avoid, because this is something serious. This is not some sort of action, psycho, sci-fi movie. This is something really, really serious that's happening in front of our eyes. And more important now, unfortunately, it's already developing in a new way that we need to start to really visualize what may happen pretty soon. So I have today with me a guest that I really think has been doing an incredible job to try to be proactive, to try to find solutions. And when I say solutions, to what? To pretty much what's already here. We are living pretty much in a complete police state. And like a republic that we used to have is transforming day after day more in a tyranny. I don't need to remind you what happened just last week with Obama's last executive order about the illegal immigration and this sort of an amnesty. But this is also going before that. We talk about the National Defense Authorization Act. We've been talking about, of course, the Patriot Act and all these different type of unconstitutional acts that has been happening at least the last 15 years. Now, today's guest is somebody that you already probably may know. I'm sure many of you knows, but just in case, first of all, let's see if he's here. Are you there, special guest?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's give your name, first of all. Go ahead. It's surprise time. Drum rolls.
Yeah, hi. This is Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oathkeepers.
Perfect. Let's say it again loud. Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oathkeepers. And many of you already know, but maybe some new listeners driving right now in Mojave County, Arizona, or Needles, or wherever, say, what is Oathkeepers? What exactly are you talking about? Please, Stewart, tell us a little bit, first of all, a little bit about your background, and then exactly what means Oathkeepers. What is Oathkeepers?
Right. Well, I served as a paratrooper in the U.S. Army until I was disabled in a rough terrain parachuting accident. I've got a fused spine and a couple rods in back. After that, I went to college, and I worked for Ron Paul on his staff in D.C., and then I went to law school. I graduated from Yale Law School in Connecticut. And I started Oathkeepers. The main reason why is because when I was a student at Yale Law School after 9/11, we saw the exponential growth of the police state. And in particular, the cases of Jose Padilla and Yasser Hamdi, two American citizens held without grand jury indictment, without bail, without even any charges, and without a jury trial, just kept in a brig in South Carolina for 3 years each. And that was a big wake-up call. They're applying the laws of war to American citizens, claiming that the laws of war trumped the Bill of Rights and sidestepped all of your due process rights to a jury trial. And that was the big eye-opener for me. And then, of course, the U.S. Supreme Court okayed that, rubber stamped it. And so we've already crossed the Rubicon. We're in post-constitutional America. So that was a big reason why I started Oathkeepers. I realized that if we're going to put the brakes on this, we're going to have the military and hopefully at least some of the police on our side to say no, to buy us more time to fix this problem.
Exactly. And I remember also, one thing, the first time I went to your website And I read pretty much there is an oath, Oathkeepers means that somebody pretty much wants to uphold the oath to defend the Constitution, this republic. But there is also a specific page that I think was pretty well done, that every type of law enforcement or police or peace officers or anybody who pretty much already swore an oath to defend this Constitution, you ask them to pretty much renew that type of oath. And it was very specific. Now I'm trying to find out on your website. And by the way, can you give please the name of your website so in case people can go there?
Yes, it's oathkeepers.org. Well, the first thing we did is, the oath is the one we all took when we served. Mm-hmm. And we're not asking anyone to take a new one. We're just saying keep the one you took. Mm-hmm. And we have our Declaration of 10 Orders, which is just the first thing we did when we first launched Oathkeepers, is put out a declaration of the 10 worst things we can think of at the time. Things have gotten worse. Mm-hmm. But the 10 things we thought of as the top 10 most dangerous orders we could get, and committing our active duty to refusing to do them in advance, a preemptive refusal. So that's the Declaration of 10 Orders. It's up on our website.
Exactly. So orders we will not obey. I found it. Okay. And number one, we will not obey orders to disarm the American people. And that pretty much something that should be right there. But we know very well that they've been trying the last 30 years at least to try to find the soldiers, American soldiers, they would pretty much follow those orders. Let's look at Katrina, for example. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a good example. It should have been a wake-up call for many Americans. You had both current serving police officers from all over the country, federalized and brought there. You had National Guardsmen, and you had even active duty military on the streets of New Orleans enforcing an unconstitutional disarmament of the American people in New Orleans. People who were just trying to protect themselves and their property were disarmed. And that was under a Republican president, don't forget. Mm-hmm. So it was a big wake-up call. And we did find, there's on our website is a really good interview with Staff Sergeant Joshua May of the Utah National Guard. In the video interview, describes how his whole unit refused to take part in the gun confiscation. But unfortunately, many of them did. Many other units did. And so you had plenty of active duty people who should know better, enforcing a very gross violation of the Second Amendment. So, it can happen.
Exactly.
It already has happened.
It already happened. And also, let's not forget, I remember always that questionnaire of 29 pounds. I wasn't even in America yet, but I was able to read that lately. There was this questionnaire given by Superior Commander of the U.S. Marine Corps.
What it was Lieutenant Commander Guy Cunningham, who's an Oathkeeper now.
Wow.
Back then, he was concerned about the indoctrination of the officer corps. Mm-hmm. He was concerned about how the U.S. military was being shifted over and to being used for unconstitutional purposes. That's why he asked a lot of questions about the United Nations. Would you deploy under the United Nations? And he also asked that infamous question about whether or not they would fire on American citizens who were resisting gun control. And about 30% said they would.
Wow.
So he had a ratio of the percentage that said they would not, and some that said they absolutely would, and then others that said they didn't have an opinion. And so it showed that there was a split inside the U.S. military as far as awareness and commitment to defending the Constitution.
Exactly. So this is not a conspiracy, guys. I know many of you already know that, but for the new listeners, sometimes, unfortunately, I hate to divide groups, right wing, left wings. I don't believe in any wings. I believe in freedom in the United States Constitution. That's pretty much my only agenda. But I say still there are people there, unfortunately, entrapped in their ideology, in their man is better than the other guy. And unfortunately, they're doing both sides. They're doing exactly the same damage to this republic, no matter if they're Republicans under Bush or Democrats under Obama. Honestly, Obama has been doing more than what Bush started it, For example, Mr. Stewart, I like to call you Mr. Stewart, Stewart Rhodes, tell me a little bit about, because many people, now they're all freaking out about this National Defense Authorization Act, but they forgot that if you're now concerned about the National Defense Authorization Act under Obama, pretty much to bring us before pre-Magna Carta, there is no more due process. We can be indefinitely detained and tortured and also killed. Also the Patriot Act, with Bush, that people are supposed to understand that they didn't start just now out of the blue with Obama. We had the same type of bad seed starting with the Patriot Act 1 and 2. And
well, actually, it wasn't the Patriot Act. It was the executive order that Bush issued that declared that he can use the laws of war on American citizens. The Patriot Act didn't do that.
Exactly.
That was Bush claiming the powers as the commander-in-chief and following the lead of FDR.
Exactly.
Franklin Roosevelt in World War II, the expected clearing case of German saboteurs. One of them was an American citizen. They came ashore and they were caught. They refused to turn him over to a civilian jury, to a civilian court, and they tried him by military tribunal. That's the precedent that wait around, like a loaded gun, almost forgotten, and then Bush and his lawyers grabbed it and said, oh, look, we can go ahead and use this against American citizens. And so Bush detained Jose Padilla and Yasser Hamdi, the two American citizens I mentioned earlier, and he claimed the authority to kill people, to kill American citizens, and he actually did it. Even though he did it accidentally, they said, hey, if we wanted to, we could have just killed the guy on purpose. So all the claims of power that are in the NDAA, all that really did is codify what Bush had already been doing and what the courts had already supported. So now what really the NDAA is just Congress saying, heck yeah, that's right. We agree with all of that. We agree that you can be rendered over extraordinary rendition, sent to some other country to be tortured. We agree you can be held indefinitely in military confinement. We agree you can be tried by military tribunal and executed. And then of course the laws of war allow you to just kill the enemy on sight, which is the assassination program that Obama now has formally enacted to hunt down people and kill them, including U.S. citizens. So the danger, though, of the NDAA is you do have Congress now putting it in black and white letter law saying, yes, we agree with all this. We affirm, that's what it says in there, we affirm the powers and authority granted to the president in the 2001 authorization for use of military force. We affirm that we authorize the president to do the following things, including use of force, military detention, rendition, etc. So that's what it is. So now you have all three branches agreeing. This is the danger. So now a commander can pull this out and show it to his men and say, see, it's in the law. Congress passed this law.
Yeah, and the point is, for me, at least is my personal opinion, as a new naturalized American, I don't care really what the law says, because at the end of the day, first of all, I believe in the Constitution is the first law of the land and the Bill of Rights. And even during the history of this country, even the law was wrong many times. For example, there were Supreme Court cases that pretty much sanctioned that slavery was okay. Doesn't mean that we need to follow every law that they say. I mean, they can also tell you they can kill your first son when he's born. It was look
at Dred Scott. That's exactly right. And then look at the Korematsu, the case that in World War II, the Japanese internment, where the court upheld that as being okay, even though they were being targeted because of their race, even though they were American citizens. So yeah, the Supreme Court screws up or willfully ignores the Constitution a lot. Look at Plessy versus Ferguson, where they said that separate but equal is somehow constitutional, which was ridiculous. So they find a way to make it legal. Whatever they agree with, they'll find a way.
Exactly, and that's why I really believe at the end of the day, this is my experience as a naturalized American. I learned this not just because of what they told me during the naturalization class. Honestly, it's kind of wrong what they tell you that. They talk about democracy probably 20 times in 1 hour. I mean, just let you know what type of brainwashing they try to give you. This is pretty much, they want to have the new masses of illegals become illegal so they can pretty much kill our Bill of Rights at the polls. But no, my own research, I understand that at the end of the day, this country is the country where we the people at the end, we are the final line of defense for our republic. Who is going to watch the watchers? It's us. It's our responsibility. Every one of us. And not just people like, for example, you, Stewart Rhodes, that you took an oath like a soldier, but also regular law-abiding citizen who believes in the Constitution and Bill of Rights. They have the duty. It is not just an option, in my opinion. And for sure, people like myself, that when I became a citizen, I still remember, and I recorded it, the oath. We had to take an oath. And that's pretty much similar to what many soldiers or peace officers has to do. We have to defend this constitution, this republic, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And this is for me a serious matter. So, yes, I think really important that now listeners, you understand, this is not about right wing or left wing. This is about facts. This is not about Republicans or Democrats. This is about that we are all in danger. And I've been telling you this for the last 12 months, even with my accents, with my grammars and everything else. I really cry to you, please, listen. Especially if you believe that the next president may be a Republican, listen. Because if you think Obama was a piece of cake, trust me, whenever it's going to happen, the same things Obama did is going to be under the new Republican, you're going to freak out even more. Because this is evil, pure evil, out of control. Now, second point of your orders they will not obey. And I like this one very much too. We will not obey orders to conduct warrantless searches of the American people. I mean, that's supposed to be already there in our Fourth Amendment, but I think we need to remind that unfortunately it's been pretty much voided this one in many other parts of our daily life, right?
Well, absolutely, and this is the problem: is that all we're really doing in that Declaration of 10 orders, it's a reflection of our Bill of Rights. We're just saying we're not going to go across these lines. But the Fourth Amendment, first in the name of the war on drugs, but now even more in the name of the war on terror, it's pretty much gone. I can't think of a single search that the police can conduct that they can't get a judge to say is okay. Like one doctrine is called inevitable discoveries. Even if they search your car or your home without a warrant, if they can make the argument that, well, we would have found it eventually anyway, then the judge says, oh, okay, then it's okay.
It's not okay.
Or officer safety, like the Terry stop. We're searching to make sure he doesn't have weapons on him. Yeah. And they can go in your house and do that too, which is why you shouldn't let them in your house. Because once they're in, they can argue, well, I got to go search under his rug, under his couch, in his closet, in case there's a weapon there, and then they find a joint during in prison. Yeah. So don't open your friggin' door.
And then what I would like to go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah,
please. Go ahead. Finish.
No, we like checkpoints and random searches on the highway. The snipe of the what do they call those teams? The TSA teams, Viper teams.
Yeah, the Viper teams, yes.
Over and search them. Things like that would never have been dreamed of. It used to be in the old movies about World War II and the Nazis.
Yes.
Your papers, please, is like the hallmark of a totalitarian state.
Yes.
And Americans would, look at that and go, oh, that'll never happen here. Well, what's here now?
Exactly.
So checkpoints are a huge one for me. That's absolutely illegitimate. So this is the point, is that we got to get back to the founder's intent, not what some stupid judge has done since then, because he wants to give the police unrestrained power because he doesn't like marijuana, or because he's afraid of terrorists.
Exactly.
We have to go back to the beginning.
And that's what I'm trying to reach out, because probably people that they call on the right, they already understand all these Oathkeepers idea and ideals.
I'm not sure they do. Like you said,
I hope so.
President.
More.
Back during the Bush years, they were clueless.
I don't even call it right. It's just plain New World Order, like they're all pretty much left or right. But my point is, the worst part, I really realize that they try to demonize people like you and me, because I see that we have in common one thing for sure. We all been featured in the great, and I've been sarcastic here, website of Southern Poverty Law, okay? You're under extremist files, and I am under the nativist. By the way, I was even native because I wasn't born here. I was born in Rome, but it's okay. The point is, dear friends on the other side of, there is no side, but the point is you think that you are on the other side. We're talking about here freedom. We're talking about something that we should all agree. The Bill of Rights. Okay? We're talking about the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. So at the end of the day, I will really remind you that this is not about a political issue. It's about the issue that should be for all of us as Americans united. And organizations like the Oathkeepers, they're not here to try to do anything illegal or try to do anything that is against our basic rights. All they want to do is just to preserve the basic rights that we're supposed to all have, regardless our political different ideologies. So this is very important, because when I start to see somebody like yourself, that you've been trying to create this, and you've been creating this new movement of former law enforcement or police officers or military people to try unite and renew and uphold their oath, to become under the extremist file of the Southern Poverty Law, that made me feel that you're really doing the right thing. That's for sure. It's a big sign. Now, but somebody that really inspired me a lot, even before I was an American. I was studying about America and what's going on the last 50 years at least. And when I started to learn about this global government and the United Nations and all this fraud, one of my few heroes I have was Michael New. And I see with extreme pleasure that is also on your website. It's here on your website, oathkeepers.org. Tell me a little bit, more important, tell us, to our listeners, tell them a little bit about who is Michael New and what did he do?
He was a specialist in the Army who refused to serve under UN command.
Mm-hmm.
When his unit was deployed to, I believe it was Bosnia, and they were going to be under UN command, under the command of a foreign general and wearing UN insignia. He refused. And unfortunately, he was railroaded. He was not given a fair court-martial, and he was railroaded out of the Army. And in a kangaroo court proceeding, he wasn't even allowed to present the evidence of the unlawfulness of the order that he was being given,
Mm-hmm.
which is the crux of the matter. Is it lawful or not? If it's not a lawful order, he cannot obey it. If it is a lawful order, he must obey it. That's the only question. And yet they punted the military commission. They said, "Oh, we can't determine this. It's got to go to the civilian court." That was the argument of the prosecutors. And then when Michael New appealed to the civilian courts, Court of Appeals, they punted back and said, "Oh, we can't determine this. This is actually a question for the military courts to decide." So there's punting back and forth and pointing fingers at each other. In the end, he got no justice. So he's an example of a guy who did it right, but still had to pay a price. But it was still worth it. It was still the right thing to do.
You know what surprised me when I read about his story? It was exactly in 2000. It was just a couple of years I was in America, and I started to somehow by accident, or by act of God, or just because I really wanted to learn more about this country, I found out his story is pretty much sacrifice, because I was shocked that he was the only guy in his unit, in his squad, in his platoon, that he had the balls to do what I think it was the right and the only thing to do. I mean, this was happening in 1993, just to remind to the listeners. It was under the Clinton administration, or regime, as you want to call it. But the point was that the guy we have how is possible that you are going to, as a soldier, that you took an oath to defend this republic, and you're going to give pretty much yourself, to submit yourself to a foreign entity like the United Nations with a foreign commander? I mean, this is insane. This guy was the only one. What shocked me was where are the others, brothers and sisters, that they just look at that. They could have done in a great example. Think about if 100 people in the same, whatever barrack where they are, or whatever squad. I mean, squad, there are probably 10 people, but regardless, let's say more than one person. Let's say that every other 10 people, there was like one Michael New. The system would have crumbled. I mean, they would not be able to destroy like they did.
Well, just like happened with Stasio and Joshua May. If you haven't watched the interview, you should go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened there. His whole unit said no.
Wow.
And the reason they said no is he had done his work ahead of time. He had been talking to them about the Constitution, about their oath, about the Second Amendment in particular, about the right to bear arms.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had already, given them an inoculation of the brainwashing they had in high school,
mm-hmm.
and he taught them the truth.
Yeah.
And so when it came down to it, they turned to him, and in fact, the officers in the company in the battalion turned to him, and they wanted him to go to the company commander, or to the battalion commander. So even the officers deferred to him for leadership, and he went to the battalion commander and said, "Sir, we've all talked about this. We heard what's going on in New Orleans, because they were at first deployed to rural areas of Louisiana." And he said, "We know we're going in there, and we've heard this is going on. We will let you know we're not going to do it."
Yeah.
And then the commander said, "Well, thanks, and I'll inform the chain of command and get back to you guys." And the word came back down to tell them, "Don't worry, we won't ask them to do that." So Big Army blinked.
Wow.
Because it was the whole unit. Because it wasn't just one guy. One guy would have got hammered possibly.
Exactly.
But the whole unit standing up would have been a PR nightmare for them if they would have tried to punish an entire unit.
Exactly. And I think this is so important.
Right. So that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And this is the unfortunate fact is in Michael New's case, apparently he didn't have time to reach out to all his other fellow soldiers, before they got those orders.
Stuart, it's funny because when I came to America, 1998, I spent the first year, for me it was some sort of emotional thing because I come from a town, Anzio, Even I was born in Rome. It was a big part of World War II landing. It was pretty much, not as bloody as Normandy, but in different stages got really bloody. And my family was pretty much on the run. And I tell you, if today I'm born, I was able to be alive, and my family was continued to procreate, because some soldiers there, more than one, gave their lives. And we were able to, at least, even with the mistakes Italy did and whatever happened, but we had a chance, okay? And the more important, my family had a chance to survive. So I came here, I was very much always, for me, America is more than just a country where come down and try to emigrate and try to make a buck. It was an emotional and almost immoral debt. I wanted to give something back to this country, like the country gave to my family a lot during World War II. Mm. And I wanted to join the army, honestly, when I came here, or at least join something. But then when I started to learn immediately that pretty much we are no more here to protect America, but we work, because I learned about Michael New. That was the thing really shocked me when I was doing my applications for recruiting, because I was already old and I was 28, and pretty much all I could join was the army, at least. And I was learning about Michael New. I said, wait a second. We are becoming now the police force of the world. We are working under the United Nations, and we are no more serving the America's interest and defending our freedom. We are becoming something that I don't know I could do. Especially, I believe more than ever, we need soldiers now here in our city council, in our county supervisors meeting, in front of Congress. I mean, we need here people in our country to defend what we have left. So I decided that probably maybe it wasn't meant to be for me in this life. But I always thought that it was incredible things to do, especially when you do with the spirit, like Michael New has been doing it. And I'm sure many of you guys listening yourself, because you believe to this oath to the end. And that's for me the most important thing. So that's pretty much my little background. And when I see now your organization, I really feel a lot about it, because I think it's very important to make feel these individuals like Michael New that they are not alone, that somebody else is like you more than somebody else. And we can avoid this destruction of lives, because Mr. New, I mean, he had his life destroyed. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't, exactly, after you get discharged with a dishonorable discharge, your life doesn't really pick up very well for you,
Well, I think it was less than honorable. But yeah, it was devastating for him. And his father, Daniel New, has been, Michael New just stayed out of the public limelight. He doesn't want to do interviews or anything. So it's his father that's done over the years multiple appeals and tried to correct it. But he's also used it as a teaching tool, an example of here's what you have to do. And when I talk to people, it's like, look, there's no guarantee that when you do the right thing that it's going to turn out well for you.
Exactly.
It might turn out like it did for Michael New or worse, but we still have that duty.
Exactly. So the guys, seriously, my reach out today, I'm trying to reach out, not just from people that already we agree on these issues. I would like to share this information, make you think to everybody else that normally try to paint us like the Man in Black or some sort of right-wing extremist organization. This is about freedom. This is about the freedom and the Bill of Rights that belong to all of us. And I think if you believe that what we've been talking so far, I mean, just go to read it yourself. Go to oathkeepers.org. And you will see orders we will not obey. I mean, who can disagree about something that, like we just said, we will not obey orders to detain American citizens as unlawful enemy combatants, or like we said before, we will not conduct warrantless searches. I mean, we will not pretty much treat you like a slave, for God's sake. I mean, this is supposed to be something we all should agree as Americans, regardless of our different socioeconomic ideology we may have. Now,
right. Well, the problem is though, is that the ideology of totalitarianism, of collective, so-called collectivism versus individual liberty, that ideology has spread throughout our legal system, our educational system, our government. It's pervasive in our society. The Marxists, they did their long march through the institutions.
Oh, listen,
and through both parties.
Yeah.
That's the big point. I mean, to Republicans is, the socialists marched right through the Republican Party too. You got some pretty. You can call them fascist or communist. Who cares what you call them? But they agree.
Yeah.
Look at John McCain or Lindsey Graham. When it comes to the war on terror and police state powers, they're as even as bad as Obama or worse.
Exactly. Exactly. My point is, there are some people that there is no communication. I mean, some people that really believe that we should be all enslaved. And there is nothing we can talk about. But there are a lot of people out there in both sides, left or right, whatever you want to call it. They, in good faith, they've been pretty much frauded, okay? They've been kept ignorance, and they've been part of this brainwashing system. And to those people, I'm trying to reach out. People that they have at least the strength and the honesty to recognize their mistakes. I believe every one of us at some point we were ignorant, and I was myself ignorant. I mean, till 2001, especially, I had to wait 6 months after 9/11 to really start to understand what happened that day, because, we were part somehow into this sort of a big machine called indoctrination or called propaganda. So we all can do that mistake. Mistake can be fixed. Ignorance can be fixed. When you're evil and you know that the truth is there and you don't want to face it because you're evil or you're just too arrogant, then we got a problem. But anyway, and I tell you guys, you should go really seriously to the website, oathkeepers.org, and I will also post exactly these 10 points that they're very important on my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, on today's show. And I would like to before we go ahead, I want to change a little bit topic. There is another one that I really believe that is very important, that I would like to find out one right now that disagree with this one. We will not agree, point number 10, we will not obey any orders which infringe on the right of the people to free speech, to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I mean, this is called the First Amendment. Who doesn't agree with that is my enemy. Simple as that. I mean, we're not talking about anything else but this one. And speaking about this one, I know that you got some people there in Ferguson right now, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, in fact, right before I got on this interview, we got a call back from one of our local Oathkeepers there. We got a couple of retired police officers and a tactics instructor who are organizing teams to go and guard some of the businesses in Ferguson. We just got a green light that the businesses do want us to do that, and we've got volunteers heading that way right now.
Good, because that's the idea exactly. I mean, regardless, we want to keep it peaceful, but the point is there also, by the way, when you hear this act of violence, we must always be aware that there is an element. It calls agent provocateur, and this has been happening since ever in history. Or you got to read Machiavelli, Niccolo Machiavelli, the Principe. Il Principe tells you a little bit about false flags. That was long time ago, before even 9/11. But the point is, yes, at the same time we want to keep this peaceful, but we have the right peacefully to assemble and to exercise our First Amendment. This is pretty much what Oathkeepers is trying to remind to the fellow officers on the street, because you can't just beat up people because you don't like what they're saying. Okay, of course.
Right. We should. And our cops in Missouri sent a letter out to the governor of Missouri and to the police saying, because in August they did it wrong. They were pointing guns at everybody, not just people who were threats. They were pointing guns at absolutely everybody. They were using tear gas on everybody, and they were also shooting little bullets indiscriminately in the crowd. Yeah. And they were imposing curfews that violated everyone's right to assembly. You don't have the First Amendment doesn't say you have a right to free speech and assembly unless the governor, declares an emergency. There's no exception for it. Exactly. And so we encourage the police to go only after the guys actually committing crimes. You don't punish the peaceful protesters. You go find the guys that are committing crimes. And instead of just having this big long line of riot gear clad cops, you put in undercover police officers. You get minority undercover officers from St. Louis or other places. Bring them in, put them in the crowd. They can spot the bad guys who are in the back of the crowd getting ready to throw a Molotov cocktail. And then they radio in with their earpiece, and a little small team of 5 to 7 other plainclothes officers swoop in and arrest the guy. Exactly. That's how you do it. That's the smart way to do it, where you're not violating the rights of the people, because otherwise the police only reinforce the propaganda like a new Black Panther Party that is trying to convince the people that they hate you because you're black. So when the cops act like that and oppress everybody in the crowd, they're reinforcing that viewpoint.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Mistake.
we have records, and this is declassified information that is not just today, but since the time of Martin Luther King, the FBI and different agencies, but the FBI especially is being involved in trying to create pretty much these, how do you call, when you try to make look somebody bad, and of course create this sort of agent provocateur. I mean, they go there, they infiltrate the movement.
COINTELPRO.
Exactly. COINTELPRO. Exactly. Guys, Google it. This is nothing about just some website. This is officially was declassified information, and there was also a U.S. congressional investigation about that, correct?
Yeah, they tried to get MLK to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
They would bug his phones and follow him, and because he was having affairs with other women, and so they would use that against him and tried to get him to commit suicide. They wrote a letter to him threatening to expose him and told him he should do the right thing.
So
one thing left to do now is kill himself. So, and that's what they do to anybody who's a potential threat.
Exactly.
You can count on them doing infiltration. You can count on them trying to get one of their agents or one of their informers close to that person to try to snare them. Look at Evan Schaefer Cox in Alaska. The guy up there in Alaska was the founder of the Liberty Bell movement and also was a militia leader. They had two different paid informers who were put close to him. In fact, the two informers didn't even know each other.
Wow.
They didn't even realize that the other guy there next to them was also an informant for the FBI.
Wow.
So two of his inner circle were two FBI informers, paid informers, agent provocateurs who were encouraging him to, talking about violence. What would you do if they came and grabbed your kids? And they went to enter in that conversation, and he said, we'd kill, 10 of them for one of us, and this kind of stuff. And so they arrested him for plotting to kill police and judges.
Yeah.
So that's how they snare somebody, and also for explosives. They were they arranged to sell him explosives.
Yeah.
And it turned out one of the informers was the local surplus guy, surplus store owner that everyone knew for a long time and trusted. And his own wife didn't even know he was an informer. She found out the day they arrested Schaefer Cox, a moving truck pulled up in front of her house to move her out of state.
I hope he goes out of business.
Program.
Did he go out of business? Yeah. I mean, the guy left business, I'm sure. I mean, he left town. That's after all that.
This is an article I was reading where they're quoting this guy.
Yeah.
He now does that professionally. He's traveling all over the country, working for the FBI, infiltrating groups, and trying to snare people. That's what he does.
We have a thought. I like to see at least his face because I tell you, we have to watch now everything. We do a little peaceful protest.
You just assume they're there. That's all.
Yeah.
You have to assume when you're in a meeting that at least one, probably even more than one, is a paid agent provocateur or even a Fed, even an actual agent. But usually it's a confidential informant. That it could be a person you've known for a long time.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe they got busted. Maybe they got pulled over and busted for something, and they have them roll over and be their informant, wear a wire.
Guys, listen to this. So this is very important because, I'm still reading about these 10 points, things that we will not do. Point number 8, we will not obey orders to assist or support the use of any foreign troops on U.S. soil against the American people to keep the peace, between quotes, or to maintain control. I've been talking about this many times, and many times, of course, people understand it, but unfortunately, also many other times that people laugh and they think, oh, Red Dawn, this is America, it's not going to happen here. First of all, it already happened many times. Let's talk, for example, something I'm sure you're familiar. During Katrina, there were these Mexican troops traveling through, with a convoy, traveling through Texas. You remember the situation? Can you give us a little bit more details?
I don't really have a lot of details on that, but I know that happened. And there's these agreements between Mexico and the United States and Canada for mutual support, they call it, to go up, either deploy into Canada or Mexico for them to come here. So these agreements are already there. These are military agreements. So anybody who says, oh, it's ridiculous, it'll never happen, well, it's never going to happen. Why are they planning for it?
Exactly.
And like you said, during Katrina, you did have at least a limited crossing of the border of Mexican troops coming there to help. So
exactly. And also, I would like to remind...
it sets a precedent, right?
Exactly. That was disturbing for me, very, very disturbing, and nobody really did anything. I mean, that was the most disturbing thing. I mean, try to do the same thing in Mexico. Get like a couple of trucks loaded up with American soldiers traveling through Mexico. They're going to probably, I don't know, but this is not going to fly that well with their government, and even with their people, I believe. Now, another thing people must understand that unfortunately we're living already in a pre-dawn, red dawn situation. And I've been talking about that many times. I've been pointing out facts, not just movies or stuff like that. And there is this document that I think is very important. And this is exactly was the FEMA when they signed an exchange deal with the Russian government to have military troops on U.S. soil in case of some special national emergency. Now, my question is, first of all, we're supposed to have the National Guard instead of controlling and guarding the borders of Iraq should be here in America, but we know very well that our National Guard is gone. Most of our soldiers, they're overseas and already overstretched. But why should we have the Russian government that pretty much supposedly now in this charade, we are fighting in this sort of a new Cold War with Ukraine deal, with the Ukraine situation. We're going to have FEMA working with the Russian special forces to keep the peace. What do you think about this?
Well, as we talked about earlier, off the air, this is the camel's nose under the tent. They're coming in, quote unquote, as advisors and exchanging information and exchanging supervisors, just to learn. That's how they always do it, and then it expands from there. So I think it's obviously grossly unconstitutional.
Yep.
No one who has not sworn an oath to support and defend the Constitution can sit in any position of authority inside our government. The Constitution, Article 6 of the Constitution, demands that every officer at every level of government, all the way down from the president to local dog-catcher, must swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Mm-hmm. None of these people have. Obviously, their oath is to Putin or to the Russian government. So they cannot sit in any position of power. They can't even be in the chain of command at all, or anywhere in there. So that's the first thing, threshold number one. Second thing is that the only constitutional homeland security or emergency system is the militia. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be us, the people, who are responsible for taking care of emergencies in our communities, or if the federal government wants to call up, any power in the United States, it's supposed to be the militia. It's like Article 1, Section 8 says in the Constitution, Congress has the power to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, or repel invasions. It doesn't say anything about the military doing that, nor does it say anything about federal law enforcement, nor does it say anything at all about foreign troops or foreign law enforcement. So, yeah, it's just like wildly outside the bounds of the Constitution. It's supposed to be you and me, first and foremost, mm-hmm. before there was a National Guard. It's supposed to be we the people as the militia, which is all of us, not just a few.
When I remember when I was in Italy, before, when I was a young guy, I went to the military academy. I didn't really complete to become a soldier, but I used to study a lot, or at least all pretty much theoretical thing, okay? I was for officer school. And one thing really got my attention was Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I think it's a great book and should be read everywhere. And one phrase I still remember from this very ancient book of this war strategas. I mean, this guy that pretty much teach how to do war. And the phrase was, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Think about like a chess game, They start to preposition all the elements on the battlefield, and then you wake up, it's too late. The python is already pretty much around your neck. And that's what I'm looking right now. For example, I start to see all these elements, our soldiers pretty much overseas, and the National Guard already federalized and overseas. And then we have these international agreements with these foreign troops already. And then another disturbing thing, I really would like to remind everybody, this is a small arms treaty, as much as it's unconstitutional, but it's going to pretty much be effective December the 24th, 2014. It's something that in their mind is supposed to be some sort of legality. And then we have something that I'm sure you're familiar. You remember Larry Gradwell is the former FBI informant during the Bill Ayers Weather Underground. You remember that short video?
Yes, right.
I mean, that's a disturbing fact because I've been playing this audio and I will play to you right now, if you don't mind, because I think it's something
go ahead.
We should really remind everybody that this is not a movie, it's real, especially after we look at all the different parts of this puzzle, that you start to see the big picture. Okay, look at the picture. We have right now a king as a president with a Marxist ideology, or at least what it looks like, but listen to exactly what is the plan. And the FEMA camps are reality. And the foreign troops, they are reality. They are on the book. And now listen to this man.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating, 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I ask, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
Here we go. This is not a movie. This is real. This is an official documentary from 1982. No Place to Hide. I think it was on CBS or something like that. It's happening. I really believe that. What do you think, Stewart?
Oh, absolutely. I think, this is the problem. Like I said earlier, the Marxists did what they call the long march through our institutions. They couldn't win by violent revolution at the turn of the century, at the time of the Russian Revolution. And so they just waited, and they infiltrated our educational system, and from there they infiltrated our legal system and our political system and the news media. I mean, you name it. They've gone through it. And so this is what happened, is that it culminated in the 60s, and these radicals, and who's in power now? That generation is now in power.
Exactly.
They're the ones now. I mean, Ayers goes to the White House. He's got, his man is in.
Yeah.
And Obama is every bit a Marxist ideologue as Ayers.
Yeah.
And so is Hillary, and so are all the rest of them. So I went to Yale Law School in 2001 and 2004. Half the students there, at least half of them, were self-proclaimed communists.
Wow.
They were out and out communists.
Wow.
Of course, they call themselves progressives, but they were members of the Communist Party when they were in high school, etc. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is what we're living right now. And of course, they want to cause chaos and bring this country to its knees. In that emergency, they can go under the cover of emergency, like an economic collapse, whether it's triggered by Ebola or war, or the Chinese dumping the dollar, whatever the rationale is for pulling the plug. Once they get that kind of, or these riots that are coming out right now, whatever they use to trigger the crisis and the chaos, they will use it to do their final ultimate goal, which is to lock down this country, suppress or kill anybody who will resist them. And that's why they have all these lists of people.
Exactly.
They want to know where you are and what can get you. So the problem is, though, is Americans are now afraid. They're so afraid to be on a list that they're not doing the things that will be necessary to stop this. And one thing you must do is you must unite with your neighbors. You must do that. You have to have a community defense. If you're united, the secret police cannot come in the middle of the night and take you out if you and your neighbors are united and stand together. That was the lesson that Solzhenitsyn figured out in the Gulag.
Yes.
The Gulag Archipelago. He
yes.
just said, hey, they looked back and said, we had nothing to lose. We should have fought. We should have come together and ambushed them when they came to our house instead of hiding by ourselves, hoping that they would bypass us. They should have just, attacked the secret police and killed them, because there's not enough secret police. And the same thing in this country. If you're united as the founders intended as a public militia with all your neighbors together, the secret police can't do anything to you. They'd have to use a standing army against you. And if they tried that, I think half the Army and half the Marine Corps at least would defect or turn on their masters. So they would prefer that you stay isolated, that you're not organized, so they can just use a secret, your local SWAT team as a force multiplier in the middle of the night to come get you.
Exactly.
If you're not organized, that'll work. But if you're organized, that SWAT team cannot do it.
And that's
look at Bundy Ranch.
Exactly.
There's no way a SWAT team could have gone in there. They would have been killed.
Exactly. And that's the lesson that we learned from the Bundy's Ranch for the first time, I believe, at least since, I'm sure you're familiar with the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, 1946. I'm talking about Athens, Tennessee, no Athens in Greece. I mean, yes, American people got together, and finally, thankfully, we didn't have to use the Second Amendment, but we used our first, and of course, our second was behind, ready to defend us. And more important, we were not afraid to stand up for our rights. I was very proud to be there, and it was for me the opportunity to understand really what it means to be an American at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, our life comes and goes. We're all going to be dead. But what remains, I really believe, is going to be our legacy, and more important, our duty and the example that we set. Because people before us, let's not forget, we probably forgot, and this is honestly, unfortunately, it's everywhere, not just in America. Somebody else before us, long time ago, but not that long, had to give everything they had, their homes, their properties, their wealth, their lives, their family members, to keep us in a situation that we had for a while, and we lost it because we were too afraid to commit ourselves. So that's why I really believe can be done, but we need to start to pretty much lead by example. And talking about proactive things, because the idea now is to find solutions. But we find solution only after we understand and we acknowledge that there is a problem. Otherwise, people cannot commit to solutions. Now, after we understand we're really living in the last few days, or I say the last few hours before midnight, I would like to ask you, people, you said a very important thing for me. I've been saying that before. We got to organize as communities. Organize means I find each other as like-minded people, but also have a plan and have some basic training. I know you've been talking about training and also about preparation, and I know veterans, they can be a great, valuable assets to try to train and cross-train the rest of the population. Tell me if you got anything going on in that area with the Oathkeepers. Stewart Rhodes.
Absolutely. We have our Community Preparedness Team program, we call it CPT, and what that is we're encouraging our members to form up in their communities on these teams and primarily be a training cadre. They can also, of course, work as a team together during disasters and emergencies to help each other and help the community. But the main point is for the veterans to get together and then go out and help their neighbors by training them and teaching them what the veterans know. Mm-hmm. You've got people across the country with amazing skills and knowledge and experience when they're in the military, and it's going to waste. Why not have them go and teach their neighbors how to do what they know how to do? So if he was a communications expert, he can go teach communications. If he was a medical expert, a medic or corpsman, he can go teach emergency medicine. If it was an infantry soldier, he should be teaching, whether a Marine or soldier, they should be teaching their local neighbors how to fight, how to take care of each other. And they should be, helping them form neighborhood watches and training them, going into churches, training the people inside the church to take care of each other, and also going into the veterans halls and waking up all of those veterans. Every VFW, for example, if they saw themselves as a civil defense unit in the community, imagine how much stronger every town would be just by that.
Exactly.
By those veterans looking around the room and going, hey, we got the talent right here. Let's just make sure we have our equipment. Let's get trained up. Let's cross-train. Let's train our sons and our grandsons, even you older veterans who, have bad knees and bad backs. You're not off the hook.
Yes.
You have a responsibility to pass on that skill. So each one teach one. Each one of you teach your younger people how to do the things that you know how to do. But above all, they must be organized. And if you can get a good sheriff in and form a posse under him, that's a great way to go. That's a nice step towards revitalization of the militia. But in the end, what it needs to be is a honest-to-God militia of all of the people, not just a few guys. Mm-hmm. That's not really a militia. They call themselves militia, but if it's just you and your 10 pals, that's not a militia. It's supposed to be everybody in your community, united, organized, and trained, and under the authority of your county commissioners or your town council under civilian authority. It has to be that way.
Perfect.
So ideally, you would want a county ordinance, or you'd want a resolution or something passed by the town or the county to establish a formal militia in that county of volunteers.
And also, let's not forget, especially if you live in states like Arizona, you don't even need any type of resolution. At the end of the day, it's your duty to defend this Constitution.
Well, sure, but they're not organized. That's the problem, though. And all these guys that say they call themselves like the militia of whatever county.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it's about 5 or 6 guys, maybe a dozen, and they don't really represent the people of the county.
That's
it's
true.
Not everybody.
That part is true. Only thing I say, though, at the end of the day, there is also, for example, 2 different ways. There is a pro and don't. A good official, non-organized militia with also the county blessing, I think it's great. But also at the end of the day, when you have something that is pretty much identifiable with the headquarters and with the head, could be kind of easy to find out where are the elements. And also, I believe that.
Well, here's the point. If everybody's in the militia, are they going to go round up everybody in the community?
That's true.
This is what I was talking about earlier. If you're all in the militia, like the founders did it both ways, right? They had very public militias, which were every able-bodied male in the community was responsible to be in the militia. That's who fought at Lexington Green. But they also had the Sons of Liberty, the secret organization, right?
Exactly.
Who would go and terrorize the tax collectors, basically, and tar and feather them.
Stuart.
And trash their houses and run them out of town.
Stuart, I need to interrupt you right now because we are getting to the end. I would like to, first of all, give the opportunity to the people, to the listeners that they're listening to this great idea. I think it's a great proactive concept that should be done now. This is the time now, not procrastinate. This is something one day we may regret every second we wasted, where we could have learned the skills to defend our family, property, and freedom and republic. Is there a way that you try to coordinate or try to share this idea also on your website? There is a place, or you just...
Yes, well, you can email cpt at oathkeepers.org, and we'll try to patch you in, connect you with a CPT team in your area. But the most important thing is that every one of you should start a neighborhood watch. Do that on your own. Contact us if you want us to help train that neighborhood watch, but the most important thing is walking outside, knock on your neighbor's door, and getting to know your neighbor and start that neighborhood watch.
Perfect. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom, and don't go away. We're going to go to the second hour, more into guns and preparation. And this was a great guest. I'm so glad to have you with me, Stewart Rhodes from the Oathkeepers.org. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we are, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. This is hour number 2. Normally we talk about guns, and we will talk also about guns today, but we will go more specific in preparation. And also we'll continue the conversation that we had before in the first hour with the founder of the Oathkeepers, Mr. Stewart Rhodes. We'll talk now with another Oathkeeper from the chapter of Arizona Oathkeepers, and we'll talk a little bit more about preparation and different type of things that we should do to pretty much prepare for things that we hope they're not going to happen. Now, I would like to let this gentleman introduce himself because he has an incredible background. I really believe that we need more than ever patriots and Americans like him with their background and also ready to uphold their oath in our communities in this country. Jim, are you there?
I'm here.
Jim, introduce yourself, please. First name and last name, and tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Jim Arroyo, A-R-R-O-Y-O. My military background and service in the United States Army was 75th Ranger Regiment, Charlie Company, 1st Battalion. I was with the anti-terrorist unit. I was part of the Iranian hostage rescue team back in 1980, and I worked direct with U.S. Army Special Forces, Delta Special Forces specifically. My law enforcement background, I served 7 years with the Chino Valley Police Department as a volunteer. I went through the Sheriff's Academy for volunteering in protection, was deputized, and am still active and working with our local PD and helping out. And I am currently a full-time custom gunsmith, specializing in long-range tactical rifles.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think this is great because, everything you said gave me a little hope, I'm going to tell you, because to know that, first of all, you're a veteran, and you are not just a veteran that you did what you had to do when you were in service, but now you are focused and you're motivated, and also you're resolute to uphold your oath. Many veterans, unfortunately, I have sometimes that I met, especially when I go to the VA or go to the American Legion, give me a little bit of, depression, just sitting there, not doing anything proactively and drinking all day. I mean, I like to see veterans like you that now they're back into the fight and they try to do something proactively like you're doing. And on top, I like gunsmiths. I think that we should all have 3 friends in our life. One is a dentist, then we need a lawyer, and then we need a gunsmith. That pretty much, that's my philosophy. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about you now as an Oathkeeper. I know that you're involved in, there is an Arizona chapter, of course, like every state has a chapter, correct? Help me out to be sure I say the right thing.
Yes, every state has a state chapter, and then we break it down into county chapters. I'm actually the Yavapai County chapter president.
Wow, okay.
And as well as the CPT coordinator for the entire state of Arizona.
Wow. And just to be sure people understand, let's say, for example, I am not a veteran. I did not serve in this country, but I became a naturalized American, and I have to take an oath myself that may be pretty similar in some way, to defend the Republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But let's say somebody like a natural-born American that never had to go through service, he wants to join and wants to be part of the Oathkeepers. Is there any type of limitations, or let's say, no, you can't come here because you're not a veteran or whatever?
No, absolutely not. That's the difference. Oathkeepers is a rather unique organization in that we are not a veterans group. We are made up of active duty military law enforcement and firefighters, as well as veteran law enforcement, military and firefighters, and a full range of civilian personnel that are part of our network.
Good. Okay, this is important because I have a lot of friends that I've been talking to, and some of them, they are not veterans, and they say, I would like to do something. I would like to join the Oathkeepers, but I'm not a veteran. I say, listen, guys, I think you should talk to them because it doesn't need to be, to defend America and to defend our communities, you don't need to be a veteran. Every man or woman or between, as I said, I think everybody should have the duty and the chance also, So that's good. So everybody's listening. You don't need to be a veteran to join the Oathkeepers. Now, since we're talking about Oathkeepers, and I already gave the website before about the the national organization, oathkeepers.org, I know there is also a website for the Arizona chapter. Can you please give me the website?
The Arizona website is arizonaoathkeepers.org.
Perfect. I'm going there right now because, here we go, arizonaoathkeepers.org. Perfect. Because I would like to, there is a part that today pretty much would be the most important thing I wanted to talk to you, since the second hour, it's about guns. Not necessarily we need to talk about guns, but I like to talk in this hour also about preparation. And I always believe that the time to prepare, it's now. Think how bad would you feel if really there is an emergency, any type of emergency. You had the time to prepare your community, your family, yourself, and you were saying, maybe tomorrow, today is not the day. So I really believe, unfortunately, things they are getting to a point that this is no more a game. This is not more some sort is going to happen. I already believe it's happening right now, and I talked about this the first hour. So this is the time that I would like to talk to you about solutions, and I like what you're trying to suggest because I think it's very practical. And the idea, let me see if these community preparedness teams, first of all, I want you to explain exactly what it is, but what I really envision, listening, reading, it is something that also to use the human resources of the veterans to try to share their knowledge, to try to have a population like in the Switzerland model almost, at every neighborhood would be more prepared, more knowledgeable, and at least have a plan in case something happens. Am I wrong or right about this?
No, you're absolutely right. This is a rather unique program that Oathkeepers sponsors. Let me just give you the background of it. It's
Yes.
called Operation Sleeping Giant.
Okay.
And for anybody listening that wants to know more about it, just go to the ArizonaOathkeepers.org website, go up on the toolbar and click on CPT, and that'll bring up all the documentation that will give you the full details. But let me just give you a brief synopsis.
Yes.
What we are, the Community Preparedness Team, is made up of two elements. It's an alpha element and a bravo element. The alpha element is 12 to 14 man team based loosely on a special forces model of specially qualified people. You'll have communications experts, you'll have medical experts, you'll have an engineering team, and so on and so forth. And then you'll have also some trackers in the scouting section. You'll have shooting experts and small unit tactics experts. And these are the veterans and the more active and physically capable members that can move about and help train a community in a full-scale disaster preparedness plan, which is based on two scenarios. We're talking about a catastrophic event now. We're not talking about fire, flood, earthquake, tornado, hurricane, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
The two major scenarios, as wargamed by National, are one, a socioeconomic collapse of the United States, and two, an EMP attack, which would destroy our power grid.
Yes.
So those are the two major scenarios. We're talking about serious business now. This is not your basic preppers and basic survivalist type stuff. This is when everything comes apart completely. The second phase of our organization is the Bravo element, which is what we call the LSGs. That's a logistics support group.
Mm-hmm.
As any of you veterans out there know, for every man in the field, it takes 5 to 6 people minimum to support that man in the field.
Wow.
So we have a full support element made up of transport personnel, medics, communication specialists, a full headquarters element, the full gamut. There's a lot to this, but it's all clearly spelled out on the website.
Very good. Very good. I'm reading, by the way. I'm really impressed. I like the concept very much. I just hope people has the urgencies to follow up, because sometimes, they say knowledge is power. But I always say only if follow up by action, because you can know all these things happening right now. I mean, now even the rocks, I understand that this is no more America that probably your father or grandfather grew up.
No, not at all.
Okay, but there is a problem, and I'm very disturbed about that. There are still a lot of people that, regardless their understanding, that finally their knowledge of what's going on, at least partially, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know everything, but you know that something's changing, something's happening. They still don't find the motivation to start to say, okay, among my civic duties, I need to prepare my family. I need to prepare my neighbors. I need to do everything I can. Like you have a car insurance, or like you have, an extra tire in case you get flat. You hope it's not going to happen, but you must have it. And I see it. Sometimes, I tell you, my goal of this radio show, it is not to entertain or have fun. I'm pretty bad at that. On top of it, that's not my job. I'm just trying to have a megaphone, to have scream a little louder, or at least reach out a little more people to say, guys, this is our opportunity to try to avoid what's happening. But in case something's going to happen, we must prepare, regardless our differences of opinion on some topics. We're still Americans. If we believe on the basic Bill of Rights, and if we believe that everybody has rights, we should respect each other's rights. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian. We are American. We are human beings, and we need to defend our basic rights. And I believe really that this is the time now, more than ever. And I've been talking about this during the first hour with Stewart Rhodes. We're in really danger. And normally I don't say things like that just to make a drama. I mean, this is real. This is real. It's happening. Look, in Ferguson, it's a little model. When I watched the National Guard standing down, because according to the lieutenant governor, the governor was given orders by Obama to stand down in the destruction of private property. And life also. This is a serious matter. What do you think about that?
It's very difficult right now, because we understand that our administration currently at the federal level is not abiding by the Constitution. They are manipulating everything in our country currently. This is just one more example where the National Guard could have been deployed properly and posted along the streets and be doing vehicle patrols, and that would have quelled the violence right at the onset. But because they were ordered to stand down, that allowed it to happen. And being personally a veteran of the riots in Los Angeles, where I watched my city have 4,000 businesses burned to the ground overnight. Much larger scale than what happened in Ferguson, but it could have been avoided by having the proper people out there immediately. As you see in New York, I have a great deal of respect for the police in New York because the police get in amongst the crowd and they deal with the problem immediately. They don't let them start breaking windows and burning buildings.
Exactly.
They arrest them while they're in the act.
Exactly. At least, this is regardless where we are on the issue. First of all, I believe that there is still a rule of law and we're supposed to still have a court deciding. We are not a mob, like lynching mob, okay? So regardless where you stand, let's say you believe that Mr. Brown, whatever this man was, innocent or not, or he was killed unjustly, what is the point to destroy somebody else's property or life of an innocent person? I mean, this is completely, it brings out, let's say I have somebody that in the audience say, oh, you know what, the police, they were all bad and there was all corruption, whatever you think. To destroy somebody else's property and endangers life is never justification, period. That's the bottom line. And that's the duty of the basic peace officers and National Guard. Instead of guarding the Iraq borders or Afghanistan borders, should be here. And that's what they should be doing, But we have a traitor, and I really believe that, without apologies, is not even a Manchurian candidate. This man is being planned, and right now it's like you have pretty much in the most powerful room, a Trojan horse, and he has access to all our gates, and he's opening every gate of hell to unleash complete anarchy and, of course, destruction on this country. This is pretty much my firm, not opinion, it's based on facts, okay? Anyway, let's talk more about this. I really like this plan, and I would like to invite everybody. I will create also a page on lovegunsfreedom.com for the Arizona Oathkeepers, and especially for the CPT, Community Preparedness Teams. I invite you, of course, to go to arizonaoathkeepers.org, and also you will find on lovegunsfreedom.com in the activists page, I will create this page where pretty much I try to amplify everything you're saying here, so I hope people can join you. For example, if somebody wants to be involved, what should they do? Or they can contact you just by email. What is the way to do it in Arizona?
Well, there's several ways. Is find a local chapter in your area. You can go to the meetup pages where we have our web pages set up on the meetup website where we announce all of our training and all of our events. And keep in mind that you do not have to be an Oathkeeper to be involved in any of the CPT training or any of our events that we sponsor. It's open to the public. There's no charge for anything. We do take donations to help support some of the operations that we do, but anybody is welcome to any of the meetings or any of the trainings. And that's the best way to find us is on Meetup. Perfect.
I will join you personally because I really like these activities, and I think it's also my duty to learn as much as I can and to try to the idea is very simple here. We want to learn and share because this is something that one day we still have the internet that we can talk. Maybe tomorrow, like you said, with the grid down, and could happen anyway, we may pretty much just living in the small communities, and that's going to be our microeconomy in a micro world. Maybe we cannot even have any more a car, and whatever you have in your, walking distance is going to be your world. So we must learn as much as we can. Normally, what do you expect in your average meeting training session? What do you do, for example? What type of activity you do?
Well, as a general rule, right now our format is we meet the second Saturday of every month here in Chino Valley at the American Legion Hall on Highway 89 and Road 3 South. The Yavapai County chapter of Oathkeepers is the spearhead for the CPT program. I'm in full charge of everything that happens within the state of Arizona. And I coordinate and handle all the training schedules with all the different veterans. Some of the veterans that I'm bringing in are former U.S. Army Special Forces, which are basically trained to do exactly what we're doing. I also have a full team of Army Rangers and some really high-speed medical people and also firefighters. I've got some great law enforcement personnel that are retired law enforcement.
That's great. I like to hear that, by the way, to know that there are some still, and I think there are more than we know, but I know also the young generation, unfortunately, is replacing them. Peace officers, or what you used to be also called peace officers, they're out there. And I'm glad to hear that there are people that they want to commit themselves, especially even after when they retire, because their oath, it never expires. I mean, this is probably, we need them more than ever right now. Because I really have the feeling, and this is according to facts, especially the new generation of law enforcement with a new federalized training, they have a different interpretation of the Constitution and the oath of office. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I understand that, having worked within law enforcement. I mean, we're very fortunate here in this part of Arizona where our law enforcement is much more conservative. We don't see a lot of that big city. I grew up, I was born and raised in L.A. and L.A. County, and I saw from Los Angeles what happened to our law enforcement being militarized over the years. And this is a real bone of contention within Oathkeepers that we're seeing our military our law enforcement being militarized and getting armored vehicles and automatic weapons, and it's changing in our country rapidly right now.
And you know what, Jim, it's not even the concern, of course, the automatic weapon and all these armored vehicles, especially if they come from Homeland Security. That what really concerns me, because it's like a grant and there is a contract with the string attached. You know, the fact that that tool, first of all, is not really supposed not to be needed in a free society. Seriously, if we are not in war, why should we need such a type of hardware? But the sad thing is that people don't understand that there's all this hardware coming, like armored vehicles and all these different tools, like these special sonic weapons or whatever. They're given, by the way, from Homeland Security, by Homeland Security, with special grants. They pretty much they have the final control. I mean, today they are just deploying assets. And tomorrow they can pretty much, in case somebody wants to really start to go with the tyranny on full scale, they already have all these assets. All they have to do is replace the drivers, and here we go. You have already prepositioning of assets and materials, you know.
Exactly.
That's what really concerns me. Sometimes people think, oh, if you've done nothing wrong, this is not about doing something wrong. First of all, I don't think America, when I remember what used to be in Italy, and I watched the movie from the 50s, even with the problems this country, like every country had, we still living on planet Earth. But remember the movie where the police, the peace officer had a face. They had a name. They were living in the community. They were serving the community. They had a smile. At least they were trying to do what people among the community do, try to keep the peace. Now instead it's all about, pretty much enforcing. And when I say enforcing laws, doesn't mean that they are always good laws. Now, is somebody like an average working man, okay, listening to the show, even a woman, I think everybody has the duty and the right to defend this country. I don't care which sex you are. Wants to do, and they don't have any military background. So, but they have a good heart and they have time, and I would like to join, and they're going to call you. They want to start to do some activities, and they would like to maybe improve, because, everybody has a rifle, or maybe more than one, but unfortunately we know not everybody has the training. And that's where really my focus is. Sometimes the rifle, it is just an extension of yourself. If you don't have the training, the mindset, I don't care how beautiful or expensive your rifle is. It's still just another piece of metal. So what they can do you do any type of training, range activities where you can help people to improve their safety and also their skills with rifles or weapons?
Yes, we do. In fact, starting next year, this first part the second half of this year was strictly getting the organization up and running, getting the structure in place, trying to build the foundation before we put up the walls and try to build a roof. We're very fortunate here in that most of our people already have a high level of skill sets with firearms. This is a very big gun community, but we do offer training. We are going to be providing opportunities for people to learn with firearms. I'm also a firearms instructor, but we are primarily concerned right now with getting the structure put together so that there is a chain of command that can handle a major event. And anybody that wants to get involved with the CPT program, we're going to find a place for you regardless of your skill set, or you will be trained for a specific skill set.
Exactly.
And we're always looking for people with a variety of skills. Of course, this type of organization always attracts the prepper, former military, former law enforcement type people. Because what we're trying to do here, Luca, is we're trying to protect a community where there will be no outside support. This is what we're trying to get through everybody's head, is that there is no FEMA at that point. The government's not coming in here to help you. We had a meeting with our county sheriff, and he knows that when this all comes apart, they're not getting any outside support. So it's going to be up to the community. And the difference between us and what people like to try to qualify us as a militia unit, we are not a deployable asset.
Yeah.
What we are is we are designed to stay within our community and train the people and to be operational after a major event occurs.
Exactly.
Now, we're doing the training now, but this is all based on the future. When it all comes apart, you're going to need a structure that has a command and control element that can help train people and protect each individual neighborhood.
Yes. And I would like just to remind to the listeners, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the Oathkeepers organization, it is not an organization that is trying to act like some sort of destabilizing or overthrowing the government. They want to defend this republic. They want to uphold the oath. And that's why they're called Oathkeepers. So for all the people that are maybe misled by the lame mainstream media or whatever you want to call it, or they buy into the propaganda, use your brain. Document yourself, go on the website. If you believe that this is supposed to be a republic and we have the duty to defend this republic, especially for the people like the veterans and everybody that took an oath, that's all it is. Defending this republic and defending our communities. Simple as that. And I believe that in these Oathkeepers, it is not about, I know it is not about party. There is no Republican, Democrats, or Libertarian. It's about Americans, and that's the idea, to stick together, to defend the peace, to defend property, life, and also freedom. Now, talking about, I like also this project that I was reading, and I really pretty much believe that would be one of the solutions to defend this republic, to restore this republic, is the Constitutional County Project. Can you please pretty much tell us a little bit what is this Constitutional County Project?
The Constitutional County Project is a new organization that I'm just becoming aware of. I met them for the first time about 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I do know that Sheriff Richard Mack, who I had an opportunity to speak to at one of the Prepper Fest recently, is moving to Navajo County to run for county sheriff, and he's very big involved in the Constitutional County Project.
Yes.
But what it basically is to help educate and enlighten our elected representatives, to help them to understand the Constitution of the United States, that when they're sworn into office as an elected representative, they all swear the same oath, basically, that we did.
Exactly.
And it's to help them understand what the Constitution is about and not get in there and pass laws that are completely unlawful or unconstitutional. And I'm a big supporter of it. I think it's a great organization, and it's just starting to grow, and I think people should look into it and get involved with it.
Exactly. And top, think about it. People should not be there on the front line if the people that we elected, like the sheriff, for example, would pretty much stand the line as the front line. I always believe that the sheriff, as you well know, as also Sheriff Mack showed us, also with his federal lawsuit, they're pretty much the first line of defense. And all tyranny should stop at the county line if the sheriff upholds his oath. And so, in many other situations that now we are facing, for example, I've been talking about practical things. For example, confiscation of properties. Right now with the ECA, they can pretty much say, not even anymore like the president with executive order or Congress, just some sort of a local bureaucrat, like a BLM office in some, like now at the Bundys, the local BLM manager with a little bit of ink and paper, he passed pretty much this sort of, I don't even call it executive action. It is just a declaration of tyranny where 3 million of acres, now they're going to be pretty much off limits for humans in the part of the Bundys Ranch. In 90 days, it's going to be effective. And if we had peace officers and sheriff, with a sheriff and a county elected people that they work as a county supervisor, pretty much stand in the line together, they would give the legitimacy that the people that want then stand for their rights and property, they would not be labeled anymore like a bunch of crazy right-wing extremists. We are just defending our basic rights. And I always say to my friends and listeners, try to visualize it. What is your line in the sand? If tomorrow, what would you do, Jim, if they come to your property and they say, do you have, by the way, do you live on a well or you have a county water? What do you have?
Oh, no, we live on a well. We have a 2.5 acre ranch property with our own water.
I have a well too, and I want to be specific. What if tomorrow the government will come, some sort of EPA or whatever, the county, they can do enforcement now through the local government. If the government comply with this new Agenda 21 federal pieces of legislations or whatever, regulations, they're not even legislations, what they would come to your well and say, you know what, Jim, this water, after all, it is not yours, belongs to the world, and if you want to drink, you need to pay a tax. So from now on, we're going to put a meter. And people don't laugh because it's already happening in many states, okay? So what would you do? Would you comply? I wouldn't comply.
I would absolutely not comply, but I would definitely work within our structure. I would first seek legal advice, of course, but I would immediately organize all of our people and put out the word through our chapters and get the community together and put pressure on our county representatives and our local town representatives. And we can be very influential here as far as our people. It wouldn't be the first time we've had a complete recall and thrown out an entire town government.
Exactly.
And
so
it can be done at the county level as well. We're not afraid to stand up to these people.
Perfect. And that's the way, you must have, first of all, a knowledgeable and willing to act community that understand their rights and they want to work within the system. But there are sometimes, in some communities, some counties, that unfortunately the three kings, as sometimes I call them, instead of being three representatives, they pretty much sell out. Or you have to do 2 out of 3, okay? And I don't want to mention names, but there are, for example, I live in a county like Apache County, where I have some recreational properties there, that unfortunately there are 3 supervisors. And there are 2 that unfortunately I think really they forgot that this is America. And one is trying to do what he can, but at the end of the day, 2 against 1, and they pretty much dictate the rules. And when you have situation that they start to comply with the international unconstitutional agreement like the Agenda 21, you're pretty much going to be left just you and your community. Because if the community out there, unfortunately, does not have the numbers to remind to the elected people that we are in America, and they just go crazy, at the end of the day, I always say, the superhero, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, you, your fellow neighbors, and God, if you believe in God. And that's why this is the time to prepare yourself, because the example of the water with the well is just an example. The bandits showed that there was another example. They were taking pretty much their properties and their rights away. Tomorrow could be that they can come and pretty much put you in jail just because you have animals, like, are you familiar with animal ID chips? The animal premises ID chip. You ever heard about that?
Yeah. So absolutely.
If you don't want to comply, the state, you still don't have to, but maybe things may change. So many other scenarios that you need to visualize. And I am not for violence, but I really believe that at the end of the day, the best way to avoid violence is to pretty much show to the other side that you are prepared and that you have a plan and you're resoluted, because they normally attack the weak people.
Exactly.
That's the point. Now, talking about more gun situation, when you were in service, what was your basic rifle that you used to have when you were as a military man?
At that time, it was the basic service rifle was the M16A1, later modified and improved to become the M16A2.
Okay. And if I had to ask you something like I always like to ask to my guests, what is your rifle today? If you had to go to the call comes and, there is the emergency, you need to think, okay, I got to get out of the house and to do my duty. What would be your rifle you would get with you?
My basic service rifle is the AR-15, which is the civilian version, semi-automatic only version of the M16 rifle. Okay. Because it's compatible with all my equipment, all my gear. It's logistically the best way to go, especially for prior service personnel, because we're already trained in it.
Yes.
I find it to be the most versatile rifle out there. Okay,
very good. I like the AR-15 a lot too. Honestly, if since I didn't have any type of previous service, that I was pretty much stuck with one rifle. I like a couple platforms. I like a lot my M14. If I had to pick one rifle only, I don't know. Even of course, a different type of purposes, but my main training rifle is the M14 or even M1 in the civilian world, M1A, and I like the 308. But I always say, at the end of the day, the rifle is just an extension of yourself. I don't care which rifle you have. It's your mindset. It's your heart. It's your willing to be free. And history shows it. I mean, look at the Afghans during, for example, the Russian invasion. They used to have a Mosin gun that you can get for $99, old Mosin guns that were able to pretty much put up a resistance against one of the strongest army of the time, the Russian army. So it is not the rifle, but it's your mindset. What do you think
Exactly.
about? What do you think about that? And training, by the way, too. You know.
Right. It's not about having 15 rifles and all the bells and whistles and gadgets. If you're not trained or you don't have the proper mindset that you're going to defend yourself, I tell everybody all the time there's a big difference between learning to shoot and learning to fight.
Exactly.
For defensive capabilities, you need to learn to fight. That's the only way it works. And that training is out there. We will provide some of that training, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel here. There's a lot of good training schools that people can go to on their own and get that sort of training. What we're providing is the structure to be able to operate that team when a disaster hits, so that we can provide security for our communities, act as an auxiliary force for our local law enforcement, which we are negotiating with directly.
Exactly.
And I would like to address one thing quickly, Luca.
Go ahead, please.
One thing I do in every one of my meetings, and I travel around the state giving briefings on the CPT program, I want to emphasize this wholeheartedly. We are not a militia unit. A militia is a deployable asset that should be operated under a state or county government only. Private militias, that's a whole separate situation. And I don't want to get into a big debate on what's legitimate or what is not, but the Oathkeepers CPT program under Operation Sleeping Giant is absolutely not a militia.
Exactly. This is very important. People understand that. This is
right.
And, you know, then people can read whatever they want. If they have, you know, distorted mind or if they have some agenda or whatever, we don't care.
Right.
We do what we have to do. But the facts are there. And talking about also rifles, you know, because I always say, you know, I'm not a professional teacher, but I'm a professional student. You know, I go there and I think it's my duty. I've been trying to do everything I can to learn. It's an art. It's also a science. And at the end of the day, there are opportunities out there. You know, even me that I was not a veteran, but I had a chance to go through different schools. Like, for example, I'm a life member at Frontside, Nevada. I did all the classes a few times. I distinguished on many. But as you said, the difference between shooting and fighting, it's a different thing. You know, find the school or find the instructors that don't just teach you the basic how to shoot, but also start to understand this is not a hobby. This is not some sort of a Sunday day at the range with your cigar and your chair and sitting down, you know, punching holes. Visualize what could be the real life scenario when you're fighting for your life. When this is not a game, unfortunately, only people that went through combat can understand more, but we need to start to visualize at least. And this is very important because unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this country, we never really had any serious situation on our soils in the last probably 100 years, okay, besides some exception. But we never really been invaded. Even now, of course, we invaded from within. That's another story. And the illegal aliens is another type of invasion. We understand that. But physically, we never faced what really other countries been facing. Like, look in Chile with Pinochet, this sort of tyrants, you know, like Mussolini or Hitler or Mao. But things can happen. They're already happening. So visualize it. When you shoot, don't just go to say, I'm going to have, you know, a little fun. It's a serious matter. I really believe that. Now, talking about a rifle, they say that's your AR-15. AR-15, it's your basic platform. Do you believe that, you know, if a group, a team, work together, should pretty much standardize, keep a standard, the type of caliber you're working on?
Right. In an operational team, they should be standardized so that they can share magazines and ammunition. Yes. That's critical. It was one of the things we were taught, you know, when we get into a situation where we get back into a patrol base, we want to redistribute ammo and magazines so that everybody has the same weapon with the exception of a belt-fed gun, of course. But for smaller teams, that's absolutely vital.
Yes.
But for a defensive perimeter, it's important that everybody be logistically capable on their own. In other words, you need to have all your own spare magazines, your own ammo. If I put a guy out on a corner in a perimeter defense, that if he's got an AK style platform, I might pair him up with someone else with the same weapon so that they can share magazines.
Exactly.
But what's more important than all of that is that the people with those rifles that are willing to defend their families and their friends and their neighbors in time of emergency understand that this is not a game. This is not a video game. This is not something that we sit in our living rooms and do. When you're out in the field, you need to be able to follow orders.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely critical, is that you're willing to be out on a guard post, to stay awake, to be rotated, to be part of a community basically a neighborhood watch, which brings me to another point. There's a very good book out there which the Oathkeepers uses as a manual. It's called A Failure of Civility.
Wow, great. Let me see it right now. Go ahead. Where you can get it on Amazon?
Well, here's the deal. The book is going to be reprinted, and they're going to update it, so it is no longer on the website. But when it is brought back in the reprinted format, it will be available. Oathkeepers provides these manuals to our members. They're available at a reduced cost.
Wow.
And what it does, A Failure of Civility deals with what's called NPP, Neighborhood Protection Plan. It's a final fallback plan.
Yes.
It's basically a neighborhood watch program on steroids, and that's everything from patrols to perimeter security to blocking the road so that nobody can get in and securing a neighborhood from invasion.
I love this. I want to buy a copy right away as it's going to get out, and I would like to support the website, of course, and the organization. So please keep watching, keep going to Oathkeepers. The website where you buy stuff, it's oathkeepersgear.net. That would be right, or just go straight to oathkeepers.org. What is the best way
just
to buy?
Just go to oathkeepers.org, and you'll see a store there for Oathkeepers,
link.
Different paraphernalia
Perfect.
and such. But
Perfect.
The book of Failure of Civility is available through the chapters for the CPT training. And when those are available again in print, we will have them available in case lots, so we'll be able to provide them again.
Yep.
Most of our members already have them, but the new people, we're waiting for the new books. And we're teaching classes out of that manual.
Great. Before I came to America, 1998, I spent a few months going around Europe, and I stopped for a moment in Switzerland, where I used to have a girlfriend. And I was pretty impressed by their system, even, of course, it's not my ideal place. That's why I didn't stay in Switzerland. But among all Europe, probably it was one of the best model I could believe. And I stumbled on a manual, a little booklet. Probably you know about it. It's called Total Resistance. It is a manual that was written by a major from the Swiss Army, Mr. von Duck. Hopefully I pronounce it right. They pretty much, this major put in this little Swiss Army guide how to defend your country, your neighborhood, and how pretty much to master the concept of guerrilla warfare. Did you ever heard about this book, Total Resistance?
I actually read the book many, many years ago. I've been a student of this since 1978, so I've been doing it a while.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that, because it's something I always like to study. When I was in Italy, I was in military school. I never finished because I could not really fulfill my oath to defend the system that I believe was pretty much against my beliefs, but I studied the theoretical part of warfare, and I was always fascinated about all these type of books myself. Now, talking about still guns, when we have a family, for example, that the average working man, okay, that is starting right now, is waking up finally, and he say, oh my gosh, and I need to put myself together. Husband and wife, they want to do their part. The wife is not just somebody watching over kids, but at least she wants to defend their kids. The budget is limited, and they have nothing. They just have now, they understand what's going on. What would you suggest for a working man, a blue-collar man and family, how to start to shop wisely their money for their basic needs when it comes down to weaponry? Well,
okay, that's a great question, and I get that almost every day at the shop, and we deal with this constantly.
Please, go ahead.
My number one recommendation, absolutely first and foremost, is you need a 12-gauge pump shotgun.
Okay.
Every household should have that as their primary home defense weapon right from the get-go. They're very inexpensive. You can get a Mossberg 500 for in the $350 range. You can get a Remington 870 for not much more than that. But it's something that's easy to learn how to use. The family can train with it. They do have reduced recoil loads available, which is what our law enforcement carries, so they're not as hard on the shoulder. But absolutely, a 12-gauge pump shotgun should be first.
Okay.
And then next from there is a handgun.
Okay.
And every adult in the house should have a pistol.
And if ever, I like to also the idea of standardize, because, I like to keep things simple. Like you said, with the rifle, I always like to keep simple with my handguns. For example, normally I have a lot of guns, but I train with one gun. And if I have a family around members, we all have the same gun. I'm a Glock guy. For the budget, which gun would you suggest for the average working man? Something you say, okay, that's the gun I would like to recommend you.
Okay, money being no object, I don't like to recommend something that costs in the $1,200 range because it's not necessary.
I agree.
Our number one selling gun at the shop is the Springfield Armory XD series. They've been handgun of the year every year they've come out.
Yeah.
They're in the under $600 for the standard issue gun. They're very easy to operate. They are one of the most absolute reliable guns ever built, probably much more durable than the Glock. Now, Glocks are very good guns also. So whichever gun you choose, and what I always recommend people do is come into the store, handle the guns. Number one, don't ever buy a gun for your wife.
Yeah.
Rule number one. Two things you don't buy for your wife, Luca: shoes and guns.
You're right.
They got to try them on. It's got to fit right. It's got to feel right.
Yes.
But I would recommend that if you have a wife that can handle a pistol, and she can't handle something too powerful, stay in the 9mm category. And both of you get 9mm with plenty of spare magazines and plenty of spare ammo.
Very good. I believe that too, completely, because, especially when you got Glocks and you start to, somebody has a 40, somebody has a 9, very dangerous. The magazine fit. And could be a very, very sad story. Now, rifle, because I always say, at least I didn't say that, but I heard that when I used to go around and talk to people. The handgun is to pretty much defend your person. Shotgun, you defend your castle. By the end of the day, if you want to defend your freedom, you need a rifle. Okay?
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, that's why in most of the governments, even in Europe, they let the slaves and the peasants have a shotgun. Almost everybody can have a shotgun, even in Europe, in Germany, for hunting or whatever, Italy. But when it comes down to rifles, most of the governments, almost not all the governments, they are very, very tight because they understand that if the people has the power and the knowledge to defend their rights, we have a problem. With the budget, which rifle would you suggest for the first rifle for the family that they pretty much have a limited budget?
Well, very fortunately right now, the price of AR-15s has dropped dramatically. I feel bad for guys that went and bought them right before the election because they skyrocketed and doubled. But you can get an AR-15 for in the $600 range right now.
That's true. That's true.
They're actually cheaper than the AKs if you can even find an AK. They've gone up a lot.
Yeah, especially with the ban, the Russian ban stuff that Obama did, executive order a few months ago.
Right. And Vladimir Putin got bent out of shape and they quit importing the stuff in. So we're pretty much going back to the AR, which is a better way to go because parts are much more readily available. Accessories are readily available. Ammunition is a little more expensive than the 7.62 39 round, of course. But the rifles themselves, you can get down. I've seen them down $5.95 now. Yeah,
and by the way, this is not even my sponsor, but I like to share information for people that they need help. Center Fire Systems, they have a great special on Bushmaster's AR-15 carbine for probably $655 or something like that with the rebates. I mean, there is good stuff out there, seriously. I mean, just shop around. And as I said, whatever rifle you have doesn't matter. Just be sure that it's the right rifle for you, and you train, and you have spare parts, and more important is your mindset. Because at the end of the day, that's really what makes the difference. And I remember I watched a video about Katrina. There was during the gun confiscation, I was so shocked and so sad when I saw these two big guys. They were living in a $5 million mansion, and they were on Fox News, I guess, and they were almost laughing and proud when they were saying their story to the media that when the military or the police, whoever was there, knocked at their doors and they started to confiscate their guns, and they had probably expensive guns. And at the end of the day, they were laughing, they came here because they knew our guns, they were bigger than their guns. And so what? What does it mean to have a bigger gun or a $3,000 rifle if at the end of the day you give it away like you give away a candy to a stranger? And I'm not advocating for violence, but for God's sake, you see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't have the mindset, I don't care how many, upgrades you did to your rifle and how many thousands of dollars you spent in your armory. At the end of the day, it's your will to defend yourself and your freedom and your basic rights. And I'm not a violent person, I say every time. But if you come in to get my rifle without any type of reason, you're going to get bullets first. That's the bottom line. I'm not going to give you my guns. Simple as that. Now, and I'm not talking for you. This is just my personal opinion, Jim. Okay, so don't get concerned about, okay? Question. Right now, I would like to pretty much come to the next meeting with you guys. When is going to be exactly your next meeting in Chino Valley?
Okay, our next meeting will be December the 6th at 2 o'clock, and our guest speaker is going to be Congressman Paul Gosar.
Okay, interesting. I like that. So you try to also connect with the elected people. I think it's very good. That's a really
absolutely. Our main focus here, I've already have direct liaison with our town manager, our chief of police, our fire chief.
Wow.
Our county sheriff, Sheriff Scott Masher, has also come to our meetings. He's very happy with what we've put together as a program.
Very good.
So when people say that we're an anti-government militia, well, that'd be kind of hard to do if we were out there directly negotiating with our government officials and working with them
and supporting them
on helping the community. You know?
Exactly. You know, the point is we want to support the government official that uphold their oath. That's our job. You know, we want to here to defend and to restore this republic, not to destroy like the other side is doing. Now, Mojave County, you know, I live in Mojave County, and between Mojave County, Apache County, I'm in Arizona too. Mojave County, what's going on? Because I know a lot of people would like to start to do something here too. What is the next thing?
I'm glad you asked that. We do have a contact name for you, which I'm pretty sure Gerald Rhodes has already given it to you. It's Chris Anderson.
Okay.
Chris is the head of the Mojave County chapter. Let me give you a little bit idea of what happened. We held a Prepper Fest out there about 2-3 weeks back.
Yes.
And we recruited probably 50 or 60 new people to form a new chapter within the Kingman area.
Excellent.
Now, Chris is down in the Havasu City region.
Okay.
So we're growing rapidly. We're recruiting people all over the counties. So we would be able to get direct contact information for you for that, since you're in Mojave County.
You know, Chris, I think is my exterminator guy. Great. Am I right? I don't know. Maybe it's another Chris Anderson. But I have a Chris that is a great guy and is a patriot, and he also works as exterminator, and he does extermination for me.
No, that's not our Chris. I don't think.
Anyways, maybe I need to talk to him too, because he's a great Chris too, and I think he would love to get involved with you two guys. So anyway, we're gonna have any meeting here in Mojave County pretty soon. How can we start to get together?
Yeah, they're on. They're not completely operational yet, but they are holding meetings in Havasu City.
Okay.
The Kingman chapter is just in its infancy. It's just getting put together.
Got it.
So we will get information to you directly as soon as we have it.
Please.
But you can go to the YCOathkeepers.com, and is that the Facebook page? Oh, that's us. We have a direct email also that you can contact us at ycoathkeepers@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. And if you don't mind,
to me directly.
As you have meetings, if you can send me an email, I will be happy to do as a press release to share the information to the listeners, so at least they know ahead when they can get together and they can start to maybe meet together here in Mojave County. That would be great.
You bet. Absolutely.
So listen, my friend, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it was probably one of the most important things we've done, because at the end of the day, we can talk about problems all day long. You know, at this point, if you understand what's going on, you know, I pretty much pass on that. But now that we understand, or at least many of us understand the gravity that we are facing as a nation, as Americans, as our communities, it's time to say solutions. And I think this is probably the most practical great solutions. Start to be proactive. We don't want to react. We don't want to, urge to try to find solution after when things happen. We want to prepare and avoid, of course. So I think this is really good. I want to let you go now, and I would like to let you know, thank you again for your service and what you're doing now more than ever. And I have a song that I will play for this part dedicated to you and to all the Oathkeepers. And the song is called The Line in the Sand. Music and lyrics by luca-zanna. Stay tuned, ready for our number 3. Thank you, Jim.
The tranquility of servitude, then the animated contest of freedom. Go from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains sit lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. The line in the sand, you know the time is coming. the sand. Are you going to watch while we're fighting? The line in the sand. Just tell me now where you're going to stand. How much more you're gonna take it? How much more you're gonna fake it? Now you decide what you'll do when they come. They'll come for you.
You see things are getting rough. Line in the sand. Now's our time to stand. Our freedom is gone and you bought it. Don't close your eyes and ignore it. Are you so blind? Can't you see? Seconds before midnight.
Okay, we are back. I'm sorry, I forgot something very important. We need to help patriots and business that they pretty much work with freedom and try to defend this republic. Jim, are you still there?
I'm still here.
I apologize, my friend. I really would like to talk a little bit briefly. Tell me everything about your business, because if we need to give money to somebody, if we need to fix our guns, I also heard that you sell guns. Give us the information of how we can reach you and what do you sell exactly? What do you offer?
Okay, the name of our shop is Mazys, M-A-Z-Y-S. We're located at 396 West Road 3 North. We're just off Highway 89 and Road 3 North. We're right behind Alco. Right, there's a McDonald's right on the corner. You can't miss us. Mm-hmm. And what we are the only full-service gun shop in all of northern Arizona that does what we do. We do a full line of in-house custom gunsmithing, gun building, build from scratch. We do long-range tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns. We're law enforcement armorers. We worked for many years for the Chino Valley Police Department. Dave Mazy is the shop owner, and he's also an Oathkeeper sponsor, so Oathkeeper members get a 10% discount on everything with the exception of guns, ammo, and sales items. But we also have a full line of equipment that we have storable food, preparedness items. But we have a lot to offer through Mazy's, and I'm there, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You can get a hold of me at the shop. I'll give you the shop phone number. It's 928-636-1262, and just ask for either Jim or Dave. We're the two gunsmiths there.
Perfect. And I really think this is very important. We need to start to really support with our dollars people that support and do what they're doing to defend this republic. Because we're going to create at this point a family, like a microeconomy that we really need to start to look for each other. And I think this is very important because sometimes I go to gun shops and I see people that really they're just there for a buck. And, we all need to work. That's fine. But when you don't even understand what's going on and you don't want to get involved, I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you a dime. I don't care if you sell guns and how good your prices may be. Okay? I think really it's important. We need to start to find people that they deserve our dollars. Thank you very much, Jim. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We're ready for our number 3. Now we're going to go into love and the food. I have an incredible recipe of pasta because after all this talking, I'm getting hungry. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Ciao.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me? or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret. They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really live. Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really live.
Here we go. Hour number 3. It's all about love and food, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Okay, from my kitchen, today we are cooking a new, different, but very simple recipe. I shared with you in the past how to make pasta with tomato and basil, but we always use canned tomato, and I'm telling you guys, the difference is amazing. If you can get fresh tomatoes, I can show you how to make a very, very delicious and healthy recipe of pasta. I call this one pasta. In this case, we will use penne. It's a short type of pasta with fresh tomatoes and basil. First of all, what we need, as we said already, we need tomatoes. I always advise, or at least I would like to give you the tip, to use organic tomatoes. You can grow your own tomatoes, and you can also buy fresh tomatoes. Try to get organic, okay? Try to get them locally grown, please. That's very important. The ingredients makes the difference. There are different type of tomatoes. In this case, I won't specify which type, but get beautiful, fresh, some fresh ripe tomatoes, For, let's say, a pack of penne that we use today, in this case we have here 1 pound of penne from Trader Joe's. I will use at least 4 or 5 big tomatoes, okay? Doesn't need to be too much. You want to create a sauce that is not going to be overwhelming. So, 4 or 5 big tomatoes. The trick, the first little advice, is to peel. You need to remove the peel from the tomatoes, because if I chop the tomatoes and I cook them, you will see that when you cook the tomatoes, you will have all this peel that is going to really be terrible while you eat it. It doesn't taste great. So, a little trick to peel it. You get some hot water and you let the tomatoes pretty much warm up, stay there, scottare in Italian, for about probably a minute. So, then you remove them and you will see that the peel gets off very easily. So, first thing, wash the tomatoes, and then you put them in hot water and you peel them off. That's the first thing. Then, what we have to do, we have, of course, prepare the pan where you're going to prepare the sauce. Now, I will use a beautiful pan, and I will put probably about 4 or 5 maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Be sure you get the right extra virgin olive oil. Don't get the one that is from somewhere you don't know. Be sure that it's from Italy or from Spain, okay? That's also not a good place. Anyway, at that point, you warm up on low-medium temperature the oil, and you peel about 3 or 4 garlic cloves. Remember, even the garlic, try to grow it, or try to get it locally. Garlic comes from now many parts of the world that you cannot even pronounce. And it's terrible when you get stuff that could be also very unhealthy to eat, especially if it comes from places that they pretty much give us sewer water to just plant it, to feed this plant, okay? So, get good garlic, get good tomatoes, get good oil. Simple as that. These are pretty much the ingredients. Now, I peeled the tomato. I already pretty much removed the peel after I put it on the hot water. And I chopped this tomato with a knife, simply. And at that point, what I'm doing here, I put the tomato in the pan. After a couple of minutes, the oil and the garlic is already warming up. Now, the tomatoes start to pretty much become like a puree, like a cream. You do not want to overcook this tomato. I'm cooking this tomato no more than probably 8-9 minutes, enough to completely blend together, become like almost a sauce, and the color is still light. You don't want to overcook this sauce. Now, that pretty much already been cooking these tomatoes, I add a little bit of salt. Okay, sea salt is very important. Don't get the cheap salt, get good sea salt, okay? And at this point, I turn it off and let it sit. Meanwhile, I have here, on this other side of my cooking area, the pot with the water where I'm cooking. Pretty much, I'm going to be cooking the penne. Now, as I said, simple ingredients. Italian cuisine is pretty much created with the simple ingredients, but the ingredients must be good quality. Otherwise, the results and the quality of the product, or the final meal, will suffer. So, I found a pasta that, in my opinion, is really good. First of all, I like to eat organic pasta. I want to be sure that it's GMO-free. That's very important. And you may say, whatever. No, it's not whatever, because GMO, it is not just a whatever. I'm sure many of my listeners, you know what's going on with the GMO. But in case you don't know, trust me, it is not just about the flavor. It's also about your health, okay? So Google it, inform yourself. Anyway, I get good water from my well, and believe it or not, even the water makes the difference. If I cook pasta with water from a municipality or a city or a town, there is a highly concentration of chlorine or other chemicals, the pasta will taste as chemical. So you want to have water that is pretty much pure, okay? Find your way. If you have a purifier system, that's the way to use it. So, get your water, plenty of water, and get your 1 pound of penne in this case. Now, my water has been boiling, it's almost ready to go. And what I do, when the water starts to boil, I'm going to start to pretty much add salt. How much salt? Don't overdo it. I say normally for, let's say, a big pot of water, at least, let's say, half tablespoon. Use even less, because you can always add it, okay? When you put too much salt, then pretty much a waste. Now, when the water is boiling, and this is the point, only then that you go and you drop the penne. Meanwhile, I would like to share with you a little bit of a music moment, and this is like a little melody that came to my mind while I was dreaming a few nights ago. And I call it Life. It's a short little melody that I hope you can enjoy, and I transform this in a song. Technically just the music, and I will also add some lyrics. Meanwhile, since we are cooking and I feel like a little bit inspired by this music, I will let you listen to this right now. I will share with you this little track called Live, music by luca-zanna. And after that, we'll come back and we'll finalize this beautiful, delicious, authentic recipe of penne with fresh tomatoes and basil. Stay tuned, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Okay, I hope you enjoy my new little track called Life. Now we are finalizing this Italian recipe, and it's all about love and food. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with luca-zanna. Now, the tomatoes, they're here warm in the pan with the garlic, little salt, sea salt, and the oil. They are ready to go. You want to add in this tomato sauce some basil. Try to get fresh basil if you can, since we are using also fresh tomatoes. Now, how much basil? I would say even half cup of, even less than half cup. It doesn't need to be too much. This is not like a pesto. This is just for flavor, okay? So, you get some leaves of this tomato, of this basil, like I'm doing now, and you let it pretty much rest into this warm sauce. You do not want to cook with the tomato, because if you cook the basil, that's going to be pretty much way overcooked. But you want to let it pretty much blend in the warmth of the tomato, hugging each other, tomato, the garlic, and the basil with the oil. So now they're having this beautiful hugging moment. Meanwhile, the water is boiling, as you can hear it. Okay. And now we attack the beautiful penne. 1 second, I'm getting them. There we go. Okay. And now we have the penne pretty much swimming into the hot water. Now, how long cooking? I already told you many times, read pretty much the directions of the manufacturer, of the brand of the pasta, but more important, taste it. Normally for penne it's like 6-7 minutes, depends on the quality or the type of penne, but I would suggest you, when you start to see that the penne starts to become, the pasta starts to become soft, You do not want to let it go too soft. You want it always al dente. So now the penne are cooking. We have tomato here. What I'm going to do now, because we are pretty much almost at the end of this recipe, it's so simple, okay? I'm going to start to prepare the cheese. What type of cheese? Honestly, anything you like. But let's keep it more traditional, okay? I like, if it's possible, in this type of recipe, the real Parmigiano. You call it in America, we call it Parmesan. In Italy, we say Parmigiano. Parmigiano Reggiano. Sometimes it's difficult to find it, a little more expensive, but you can shop around. And that would be my favorite cheese. Otherwise, you can also go pecorino cheese. Or if you are, for example, in, let's say, an environment that is hard to find a Parmigiano or pecorino, even good mozzarella would do it. But you want to grate it, okay? So you get a little bit of grater, and you get the mozzarella or the Parmigiano in this situation, and you grate it. How much Parmigiano? Do not overdo it. Remember, we are not doing like some sort of cheese pasta, okay? The pasta is with tomato. The cheese must be some sort of additional for the flavor and also for the nutrients. Now, I would say for 1 pound of pasta, I would do 1 cup of Parmigiano is plenty, okay? Grated, of course. So that's pretty much what we're going to work right now. And after I grated the Parmigiano, we will wait for the pasta that is ready to go, and we'll take care of the finalization of this recipe. Now, since we're here and today into this love moment and food moment and music moment, another song that I hope you can enjoy, always written and composed by your beloved one. Don't go away, you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca-Zanna from the kitchen, broadcasting from the kitchen at the final hour of Love, Guns and Freedom. It's all about food and love here. Don't go away.
Side.
realization of these beautiful, delicious Italian recipes of pennette al pomodoro fresco with fresh tomatoes. Now, I need to, let's see if I can do it right. It is now the moment to grate the cheese. And I'm here recording and cooking at the same time in my kitchen here in Arizona. Here we go. This is, I'm using some beautiful Parmigiano. And as I said, let's say about 1 cup is plenty. And I'm using 1 pound of pasta and about 4 or 5 big fresh tomatoes for about 4 garlic cloves and 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Okay, guys and girls, this was the grating of the cheese. This is all pretty much lively recorded, okay? No sound effects. Now the pasta, let's taste it. It's almost ready. And to taste it is so simple. First of all, you know, everybody has their taste, you know. For me, I like it al dente, but pretty good al dente, okay? I don't like floppy pasta. Remember, after you finish cooking the pasta and you toss the pasta into the pan, especially if the pan is hot, the pasta will continue cooking unless you put it under cold water. So try to perfect this art of pasta al dente. Now, since I'm tasting it, it still needs another little bit, but what I'm doing, also taste the salt. Remember, the salt, you don't want to overdo it, because when you add pecorino cheese or Parmigiano, especially Parmesan, it's already also a little salty. So it's better to put less salt than more. You can always perfect it. The sauce, as we said, was pretty simple. We had just tomatoes, basil, and garlic. All fresh ingredients, all organic. I grow my own garlic, grow my basil. Right now, honestly, I didn't have my own tomatoes. The season is pretty too cold, but I got some organic tomatoes that I bought. Okay? Now, is the moment of tossing the pasta. So, we are pretty much ready in this final stage. Meanwhile, before we toss the pasta, I would like to pretty much share with you some other ideas how to enjoy your life. Because at the end of the day, as I said, in the Love, Guns and Freedom, we talk about rights, we talk about responsibilities, things that we can do to be proactive, to try to stop all this tyranny. Also, at the end of the day, I really believe that to fight another day, we must survive today, and we must live nicely, because if we just survive, sometimes it's not enough. Let's enjoy life. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's take this opportunity from every moment we have to be happy, even with small things like a little dish of pasta, a glass of wine, good company, some friendship, and love. So this is pretty much the philosophy. We understand, we want to understand, we want to learn what's going on, we want to be proactive in defeating evil. At the same day also, at the same times, I really believe it's very important that we find a way to balance all this. Try to enjoy every moment we have and we've been given on this planet. So this is pretty much the spirit of the show. So that's why people say sometimes, oh my gosh, you know, you talk about guns and training and legislation, New World Order, Second Amendment, Patriot Act, tyranny, Bush, Obama. And now out of the blue, what has to do with the pasta? That's exactly the focus. The pasta, like everything else we do in this hour, it's about love. Also, I would like to remind you, please, go to www.freedomlovers.us. Why? Because even if you're already married or you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but if you want to find like-minded individuals who believe in freedom, who believe in the respecting each other's rights, and that government, it is not our God, you should go to freedomlovers.us. It's the first free dating site I created, and it's completely free, but it's not just for dating, as I said, it's also for networking. So you can find friends, like-minded people, upload your photos, create an account, upload videos, network, businesses, ideas, and of course, also find maybe a special person that you really miss in life. And it's free. Differently from other dating site or social site, sometimes you have to pay. This is completely free. Now, the pasta is ready. What I'm going to do now is an experiment of very high skills, because I have to pretty much drain the pasta while I'm recording. Here we go. Don't go away. Stay here. If you listen to some extra noise, it's me. Okay. Pasta is ready to go. Drainage. All right. You want to leave a little bit of water, not too much. And I tell you why. Because we will put this water at work with the cheese. So don't completely drain the pasta completely dry, but drain a little bit, leave a little water. Now, I toss the pasta into the pan, okay? In the pan where pretty much there is the tomato and the garlic and the extra virgin olive oil. Now, the trick is to turn the fire back on medium, while I am amalgamare. It means blending. And at this point I have the pecorino cheese, or the parmigiano that we used today, and I pour it in. So I have parmigiano. I'm tossing the parmigiano in the pasta. Remember, the little extra water that I left, that's the little secret to make this sort of a simple cream with the tomato and the basil and the pasta. Now, I let it cook, not even cook, warm up for another 60 seconds. So the water, the extra water, will be pretty much the density that I want. And what I'll do at this point, I like the flavor of extra virgin olive oil. And raw, I will just put a pinch of extra virgin olive oil on top. Just a pinch, like maybe a teaspoon, okay? And since I had some leftover basil leaves, fresh basil, I will put them on top as the final flavoring. And guess what? It's ready to go. And you will say, wow, it was just pasta with tomato and basil. Yes, but to make it right, this is my little trick. Now, I challenge you to try it out and to share with me the results of this recipe. Or if you have any question, please send me an email. Go to www.lovegansfreedom.com, and there is the email you will see on the homepage, zanna@zanna.us. Send me the experiment, how it works for you. If it works out right, and it might not, send me also a nice photo of your recipe. I'll be happy to publish it on the site, Love, Guns, and Freedom. So, you've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna, and stay tuned, don't go away.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we are back into the studio. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Also, don't forget, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Final segment of the final hour. Today was the broadcast in November the 30, 2014. We had the different type of topics. We've been talking the first hour about the Oathkeepers movement, why it's so important to organize and be proactive. The first hour also we talk with the founder, of course, of the Oathkeepers. Second hour we talk about with one of the organizers in the state of Arizona how to prepare your community to defend freedom in this republic and your community. Then, final hour, we had beautiful recipes of fresh tomatoes pasta, and of course also some music. Now, I would like to do a little bit of recap of what's going on, what has been going on during this week in the last few days. And I'm here pretty much catching up with the news. And also I have a friend of mine, a man that I respect a lot as an American and a freedom lover. His name is Ken from Michigan. Ken, how you there?
I'm here, Luca. How you doing today?
Pretty good, my friend. Pretty good. Try to catch up pretty much. I would like to give a little bit of final news of what happened the last few days, and we've been talking with you about a few times on this show on mind control and also on target individuals. And if somebody doesn't know what's going on, please Google it up, because it's time you start to really wake up. This is not a conspiracy, it's a fact. And now we need to start to analyze when the news, or let's say critical news, like terrible events like shooting or mass shooting, like for example the one I would like to focus is the one at the FSU, the Florida State University. That happened just last week. This this student, that pretty much now was a lawyer, he started to shoot at people. And people, of course, pointed out that medications, they may be part of it, but there is more than we know. Because I'm telling you, I've been very surprised when on the show with Pete Santilli, that you're always there, on Guerrilla Media Network, I was able to listen to the audio of the last phone messages that this gentleman, this man, it's a man that I don't want to put him down, because we don't know all the facts. Everybody deserves a trial. Even he committed a crime. There is so much information that we should talk about. It, unfortunately, the mainstream media do not talk. This guy, and first of all, Ken, do you know the name of this man? His name was Myron May, yes. Correct? Myron May?
Myron May, yes.
Please, why don't you share in a few seconds exactly what happened? Because there is a pretty much a different type of versions, but now we pretty much finalize what happened. Can you tell us exactly what happened according to the news?
Sure. Well, according to the news, he had paranoid schizophrenia. They put him on drugs and all this. But this guy had contacted our group for 2 months now, and he's been telling us all along that they were doing something to him. He's having chest pains. They were hitting him in the chest with the directed energy weapons. And he said, I didn't realize, I hadn't heard anything about it, because our leader of our group didn't think it was that bad, so he didn't tell anybody else that this guy was emailing him and telling him this. But he got a hold of a girl named Renee, and he told her he's going to send out 10 packages to TIs, because he said, when I do this, I don't want to die in vain.
Okay, Ken, Ken, 1 second only before we go ahead. When you say, I know what you're talking about, but maybe listeners, they're just tuning in right now. When you say, first of all, about our group, and when you say TI, let's refresh a little bit the memory. What is the group that you belong to, and what means TI?
Oh, TI means target individual, and the group is freedomfchs.com.
Okay.
And this guy had contacted us. I'm just part of the group. I'm not, I don't run it or nothing. And I don't want to run it, because I do my activism. I take on different things all the time.
Yeah.
I don't just take on target individuals, but this is one of the biggest crimes that they're doing on the American public right now. And a lot of them don't even realize that they're on this technology being used on them.
So go ahead.
But anyway, this guy, he thought he's going to be able to bring it to the forefront to the news if he go out and do something crazy, because that is crazy when you go out and shoot people and then you get shot trying to bring it to the news. But yet he sent out 10 packages, and yet the FBI and the Postal Service and the sheriffs all went to people's houses. Now, this happened on a Thursday morning. Friday morning, they were at everybody's house. They got a package and told them you had to sign it away because we're keeping it for evidence. So nobody gets to see what was in there, even though they said there was like a videos and stuff where they make stuff on their cameras and they want to put it out, letters to Congress. We don't get to see none of that now. All we got is what they tell us was in there now, because they wouldn't let anybody keep the package.
Okay.
This is a terrible thing that's happening in our country.
Yes. What I would like to say is we need to have an open mind, okay? First of all, yes, a crime was committed, innocent people died, and somebody pulled the trigger. But now they will use this, of course, like they've been trying to use every time there is a criminal act, to try to pretty much go against the Second Amendment and our rights. What I really would like to start to have an open mind here, there are different scenarios could be. First of all, evil is always out there. Evil people, they're always out there. And that could be one situation. That's fine. Then there are, of course, madness, crazy people, medications. We know that especially a psychotic medication, they have a big influence on suicidal and committing pretty much many of these mass murdering crime. But there is another thing we need to have a really an open mind. And unfortunately, the media, they've always been hiding it. And it's time to talk about it, at least to investigate. It's called mind control. I mean, this is nothing new. This has been declassified information since the 70s with the MK Ultra. But now what we are facing now, it's a new technology that I really would like that we need to start to look into that it is not just about controlling through pain or through drugs, but also controlling with the high-tech weaponry that pretty much can put sounds and voices in your mind, and this is declassified too. I mean, you can find some of this machinery also for the civilian market, and on top, they can pretty much put you in pain and torture. Now, what really disturbed me was the audio that I was able to find through Guerrilla Media Network, and I will play this in a few seconds, and this audio was pretty much never used by any mainstream media. I know that I think NBC was given this audio. And this man who committed this crime, he was mentioning exactly that he was being fried, and they were pretty much pointing at him and being shot with this raised weaponry. Can you tell me a little bit more about this, Ken?
Yes, well, this directed energy weapons is going on, but now they're even getting more sophisticated than that. Now from the Brussels, when they had the big mind control conference over our last week, they're talking about scalar waves, and they got scientists and everybody that attended that meeting, and they said those that you cannot shield from. They're called scalar waves. I don't know how you spell it. But this is getting very serious in this country, and I got to believe that they're using this mind control, Luca, on the average citizen. They're just not torturing them with it. In our group, most of them in our group, they're going through. They're being tortured with this technology. But they got to be doing something, because American people refuse to wake up. They refuse to do anything. Look at Obamacare. Everybody's insurance went up. They lied to us, and they even told us they lied to us after it's over.
Yes, I believe that. I believe there is something going on that is does not make sense. I mean, now we are facing so much tyranny on our face, and we're talking about 300 million people here. And I don't see the awakening. I don't see the reaction. It seems like almost we are under a spell. So I really want to pay attention, and I'm not saying that this is for sure is what we are talking about, because it should be an investigation like everything else. But the problem is that they don't even want to investigate. There is no effort at all to even bring out these last messages that I will play right now by this man who committed these crimes. And it's terrible the fact that nobody wanted to talk about these very important words that now I will play. So please stay here, don't go away, and let's listen 1 second to this audio, okay? Stay here, Ken, don't go away.
Sure.
Please.
I seriously need you to answer the phone. Like, this is not a game, this is not a joke. Renee, I need you to answer the phone. I need you to answer it now, or answer my text message. I do not need you to bail on me right now. This is a terrible time for you to bail on me right now. I really need you. Please do not do that. Please. Renee, look, I'm getting hit with direct energy weapons right now as we speak. I have 9 return receipts coming to your address. I need you to not be paranoid and calm the hell down, because I do not want to die in vain, okay? Like, seriously. Renee, listen to me. I need you really bad right now. I am currently being cooked in my chest. I devised a scheme where I was going to expose this once and for all, and I really need you. I really, really need you, and your paranoia is kind of messing me over. And I do not want to die in vain, Renee. I need you to please pick up the phone, check your email, do something, because otherwise I'm screwed.
Okay, Ken. Please tell this is very important.
I've heard this 3 times, and every time it sends cold chills up your spine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's why, for me, the most important part now on this one, not only what it says, that is, we should pay attention. The fact that such piece of information, for somebody that would commit such a crime, was never being used in the mainstream media. And I know that the mainstream media was given these tapes. Why they don't want to talk about it? I mean, this is something that should make people think, They talk about the most dumbest thing out there. I mean, how many times, Kardashian smokes a cigarette, or how many times she touches her nose or whatever. And this is something that should be, for sure, at least brought up to the attention. The guy was very specific. He's talking about specific weapons, and I'm sure you will remember the shooter in the naval base that happened last year. It was another black guy. You remember the one at the naval base?
Yes, Aaron Alexis.
Yes. He mentioned there was one thing, I think, engraved in his shotgun that was the initial of something that could be connected to this one, right?
Yes, ELF, extremely low frequencies. He said he knew who was hitting him with them. And he was getting the voices also, and so was Myra and May. Both of them say they're getting the voices. So they when you say you're getting voices, Luca, they take you into a mental ward, and you say you're paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Well, paranoid schizophrenic don't come on at 31 years old. I think Aaron Alexis was a little older than that. I think he was close to his 40s.
Yeah.
So, but they're hiding, and then they say, oh, they were on. And every time you see them on the news, they'll say, oh, they's on this drug, they's on that drug. Well, they're hiding the technology behind the drugs. They want all the Americans to think, oh, the guy was on drugs, that's why he did it. Or he didn't take his meds. No, they're hiding the technology behind the drugs. But people better wake up, because that's how they think they're going to control the world, with this technology.
Exactly, Ken. And, by the way, even I believe drugs, they're part of the way they control you, but that's just the first layer of control. They don't even want to talk about the drugs. Most of the time they talk just about the guns, how evil these guns are. And the point is, we should understand that, first of all, guns are just tools. They're not good, not bad, and they're just tools. The person behind what really maneuver and uses the gun. But now, one layer they don't even want to talk. It's about what medications, because of course we know that most of the mainstream media, they're pretty much completely bought out by the big pharma companies that they control this advertisement for the drugs. But then there is another layer. You were saying we have a hidden technology that is not so hidden anymore, but they don't even want to talk about as news. That's why I wanted to bring it out, because I don't say I know exactly what happened. I wasn't there, but when I see pieces of information like this one that we just played right now, and we can start to connect it, there is a pattern with former other mass murdering situation, or at least criminal acts, and nobody wants to talk about it, I think there is something that we need to really understand. And the point is, this is not just about the poor victims of this criminal act. This is something that we all can be pretty much influenced, and we'll be under the influence. And as you were saying, I really believe they're already controlling with different type of systems the masses, the television, the drugs, and the subliminal messages that they've been proven to have through the television, and this new form of antennas that they put everywhere. So all I'm saying, guys, let's have an open mind. When you listen to the news, or whatever you call news, never believe to anything. Do your own researches and have an open mind. Ken, I want to thank you again, my friend, and please be in touch, okay?
Thank you, Luca.
Thank you. And here we go. We continue now with the show. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. This was a little bit of information that I really had the duty. I felt the duty to bring it up. And as I said, I don't know for sure what happened, but I know for sure that the media did not want to play this part of audio that I think is disturbing, and we need to investigate. That's all I'm saying. And I thank Guerrilla Media Network and Pete Santilli to brought up this one in a very important way, probably the best way they did this week. Incredible shows about it. Now, going back to the news and to see how much in danger we are as a republic and as also Americans. Eric Holder, the, scumbag, a charge of the DOJ, says that international law trumps the Constitution. That's really what they were trying to brainwash us, because now, according to the coming, pretty much United Nations treaties, small arms treaties, according to Holder, this treaty pretty much is going to be above the Constitution. And by the way, the Senate is supposed to ratify the treaties, but still, more important, I remind even me as a former immigrant that I don't really have any type of education, but I can read English, even with my accent. There is a Supreme Court case of Reed against Covert, 354 U.S. 1, 1957. There was a landmark in the United States Supreme Court case in which the court ruled that the Constitution supersedes international treaties ratified by the United States Senate. This is very important. Okay? So, this court has regularly and uniformly recognized the supremacy of the Constitution over a treaty. So, dear Eric Holder, you that you are a devil, you're a devil, working for the devil, that you start to say these lies, okay? First of all, I don't care if the Supreme Court, whatever they say, because at the end of the day, me as an American, us as Americans, we have the duty. There are laws. We are the defender of the Constitution, not some man in black with a robe, okay? Not with a robe, or whatever. Judges, yeah, they're supposed to be there, but even judges can be corrupted. So at the end of the day, it's us as Americans, the last line of defense to defend the Constitution and our basic human rights. So, but still, since we also have this very important case, I think we should really talk about it and educate ourselves, because not just because somebody's on with a black suit and they have some, fancy lingos and they have maybe a degree in lawyers in some fancy universities and they work for the public, like this person forgot that Eric Holder is working for the public. He's supposed to be a public servant. Unfortunately, it is just some sort of a tyrant. We know what's going on, and we will stand up for what we think is right. Okay, so, no, the small arms treaties with the United Nations, for my opinion, is null and void, and Eric Holder can kiss my butt, so Obama and all the globalists, New World Order, pieces of garbage, they can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, it's up to us. And I'm speaking for myself, not for the radio, for anybody else. I will never comply with any United Nations treaty when it comes down to my individual God-given rights as an American, okay, and as a human being. So that's just to shut it up. Now, we are pretty much almost at the end. I would like to remind everybody that we are having a Love, Guns, and Freedom. I launched this contest. It's a contest that is something about to share the ideal of freedom and that we are not afraid. It's called Contest Don't Tread on Us, and very simple. You can win, because I put out an incredible special offer. You can win a $15,000 free membership, front-site membership, okay? That it is pretty much a membership that you can do all the classes that Frontsite Nevada Institute, Firearm Institute offers. From handgun, shotgun, rifle, advanced classes, and more. This membership normally costs $15,000, and I'll give it for free to one special person who will use the song Don't Tread on Us, and you can go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, and you can also listen to the song Don't Tread on Us, and what you have to do, download the song. You can get it on YouTube, Don't Tread on Us by luca-zanna, or you can get it also, of course, iTunes, Amazon, and help me out with just 99 cents. You can pretty much help the show, because you can download the original track of the song, Don't Tread on Us. Then when you download the song, all I ask you is to create a little YouTube video, okay? A YouTube video where you pretty much use this song as main soundtrack. And you can pretty much put any message you want. Of course, stay in theme with the lyrics and the message of this song, Don't Tread on Us. And when you create this YouTube, you just put in the title, Don't Tread on Us Contest by luca-zanna, and send me, please, the link of the YouTube upload that you have created. At that point, what you have to do, you have a deadline of December the 31st, 2014. I will select the video that, in my opinion, represents the spirit of the song, and I will offer a free front-site Firearm Institute lifetime diamond membership. a value of $15,000. If you don't believe it, you go to frontsite.com and check it out. And the membership, the diamond membership, cost 15 grand. I give it for free. But you got to send this video. And the beautiful news that everybody is a winner. I don't care. Of course, I cannot afford everybody a free membership, but I can give for the first 20 participants of the contest, Don't Trade on Us, I will also give a free CD, or my CD, Don't Trade on Us. Also, another very important thing I would like to tell you, that in case you want to do like a live cover, rearrange the song, using the same lyrics and the same music, you're more than welcome, and that's plenty also to participate to the contest. So this was pretty much the activity for Don't Trade on Us. Now, what are the news we have? We are pretty much now looking at the next Sunday. It's going to be a very important show. I will go straight to the studio, to the California K-Talk studio, because we have a very important event. I think something that is historical, in my opinion. I will meet with my great friend, Facebook friend, Ronald O'Donnell, from San Bernardino County, and the guy is, from my opinion, is a very inspiring man. We are sometimes on different part of the political spectrum. He's a Democrat, and I used to be a Republican, but he's a different type of Democrat, in my opinion. He's a man who puts the country first and uses his brain, not the party brain. But the beautiful thing is going to be that me and him together, me as a former Republican, I already pretty much burned my Republican registration card. Him as a Democrat, he will pretty much rip his Democratic registration card off. And we will show to the establishment of both parties that we are awake. As Americans, we understand what's going on, and we will not play anymore this game. And we are both free from any party's control. That's going to be the most important thing, and I'm telling you, for me, it would be probably the most important day of this show, because to be achieving the fact that we can put aside our differences and we can stand united as Americans, and we understand we are both awakened from this control system called political parties. Well, I feel that even with just that person that I was able to communicate to, like my friend Ronald O'Donnell, and find common ground to defend our rights, our properties, our life, and our dignity as a human beings, as Americans, and put aside all this terrible, I don't want to use bad words, political party garbage, right there, I feel like it was beautiful. So that's what I'm saying. Now, since we're here, I would like to end up pretty much with a couple of notes of the song that I think we should at least listen. So at least, you know, for the contest. This is the song, Don't Tread on Us, music and lyrics by luca-zanna. It's been a pleasure. Stay tuned. Talk to you next Sunday.
Don't tread on us, we're not afraid. You work for us, we're not your slaves. Don't tread on us, you crossed the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abusive and dissipation, now we've lost our patience. Yeah, you're trying to kill our Constitution, to kill our pride. Now the wood is dry. Yeah. Don't tread on us, we're not afraid. You work for us, we're not your slaves. Don't tread on us, you crossed the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. You keep on pushing us into desperation. You lonely fuel our determination. Yeah, it's been way too long since the last time. 1776. slave. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us. Don't tread on us. Now it's payback time. Don't tread on us. You crossed the line. Soon you will pay. You're gonna pay for all your crimes. Don't tread on us.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca-Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca-Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.